Chapter 2025. Following the old man, Chen Zhao was brought into a cave. The cave was filled with a strong, pungent smell. There were some simple living facilities, but most of them were magic materials and equipment. Coupled with the dim light source, it made the place look very gloomy and scary. "Go over there and lie on that bed." Chen Zhao looked at the bed the old man was pointing at. There were still bloodstains on it. It was obvious that in this gloomy cave, on this bed, something terrible had happened. The environment here was already very uncomfortable for Chen Zhao. Just the filth of the bed was enough to make Chen Zhao refuse to lie on it. "Can I refuse?" Chen Zhao asked. "If I tell you to lie on it, then lie on it. Don't talk. I don't want the reward." Chen Zhao took a step back, as if he was going to escape. Just then, the old man released a spell with his finger. Countless tree roots extended from the entrance of the cave. They crisscrossed like a spider web, completely blocking the entrance. "Don't think about going anywhere. No one will disturb us. I like you a lot." I'm not interested in men, especially someone as old as you." Chen Zhao looked at the old man in disdain. "Cooperate. That way, you'll suffer less. I like to be in control, so I hope you can cooperate." Chen Zhao didn't pretend anymore. The old man had already blocked his own way. What else did he have to worry about? A smile appeared on Chen Zhao's face. "How dare you!" The old man raised his skinny arm. Like an old tree root, his arm instantly wrapped around Chen Zhao. The root wrapped around Chen Zhao. He could feel it trying to dig into his skin. Chen Zhao grabbed a section of the root and released a strong electric current. Crack! The root exploded and the old man took 2 steps back. The old man stared at Chen Zhao in shock. "Old man, let me ask you something. I hope that our conversation can continue peacefully, don't you think so?" Suddenly, Chen Zhao kicked the old man and sent him flying. "I said don't try to sneak up on me when we're peaceful." The old man clutched his chest and slowly stood up. His powerful life force also came into play. The place Chen Zhao had kicked was rapidly healing. Countless spikes suddenly pierced out of the old man's body and stabbed toward Chen Zhao. Most of the time, fancy magic was far inferior to a straightforward attack. Chen Zhao didn't care about the thorn in the old man at all. Even if he turned into a porcupine, Chen Zhao would still punch back. The spikes on the old man's body did not have any effect. Chen Zhao punched him into the cave wall. The old man saw that things weren't looking good. This guy was more difficult to deal with than he had imagined. The old man immediately wanted to escape. But Chen Zhao had already grabbed the old man's mouth. "Don't run or ask for help. I'll definitely break your jaw before you make a sound." Chen Zhao smiled. What do you want?" "I can give you everything you want. I'm curious what you can give me now." "Power, I can give you even more power." "Ha!" Chen Zhao looked at his defeated opponent. "What makes you think you can give me more power? Based on your ignorance? Or your humbleness?" "I can give you money. I have a lot of money. I have hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank." "Forget it," Chen Zhao said. "I just want the black poison that attacked Marone and the antidote. That's the deadly plague. I have the poison, but you have to get the antidote from the deadly poisoner. He created the poison, so only he has the antidote." "The deadly poisoner? Where?" "In the cave on the upper right." Chen Zhao dragged the old man to the door. "Which cave?" The main part of the Spirit of Cursed nest was like an inner beehive. The inner walls extended downward and were all caves of various sizes. That That cave, the old man said, pointing at the entrance of a cave. Thank you. Chen Zhao crushed the old man to death. In order to prevent the old man's powerful life force from prolonging his life, Chen Zhao twisted off his head and destroyed his body. There were no guards in the nest. Everyone here was a cultist. They believed in the spirit of cursed and saw it as a god. They lived here and were proud of it. Anyway, Chen Zhao couldn't understand their mentality. Of course, there were also some cultists who joined the cult with ulterior motives. The old man had also said that a large portion of the cultists joined to satisfy their own desires. Chen Zhao went to the cave the old man pointed at. There was a naked woman living in the cave. Her face was tattooed with a picture of a flower. On the ground of the cave, there were more than 10 naked men lying on the ground. More accurately, they were naked corpses. All the men were as skinny as a stick. Seeing Chen Zhao standing in the cave, the woman licked her lips and waved at him. Come. Chen Zhao walked into the cave and immediately smelled the strong fragrance of flowers in the air. The fragrance should be an aphrodisiac. After being spread by magic, it would make people feel uncontrollable lust. Chen Zhao did have a reaction, but he wouldn't lose his mind. The aphrodisiac effect was far from making him lose his mind. How can you feel lust for this woman? Belial's voice appeared in Chen Zhao's mind. She's too low class. Just then, the woman had already walked to Chen Zhao, twisting her waist. Her slender fingers slowly brushed across Chen Zhao's chest. She was very confident in her aphrodisiac spell. She believed that Chen Zhao would lose his mind like the corpses on the ground. But the next moment, Chen Zhao grabbed the woman's neck. Can you tell me where the death plague poison and antidote are? The woman struggled. Only when Chen Zhao let go did she finally breathe. Why aren't you affected? Are you impotent? Or gay? Chen Zhao lifted a foot and kicked the woman away. As a man, the woman's words had hurt him. Let's get down to business. Chen Zhao stood before the woman. Can you tell me where you put the death plague poison and antidote? That's death plague stuff. How can I have it? The woman screamed. All right. Can you tell me where Deathly Poison Man is? Chen Zhao roughly understood. The old man had thought that the woman could deal with him, so he'd purposely led him to this cave. After getting the woman's directions, Chen Zhao killed her as well. There was no point in keeping the woman. He would expose himself. Chapter 2026. Soon, Chen realized that he went to the wrong door again. The woman clearly had the same idea as the old man. She led Chen to a butcher's house full of corpse collectors. Then, Chen also added this butcher to his collection. This time, Chen didn't even ask. He sent him on his way. There was really nothing to talk about with butchers like this. Chen randomly walked into another cave. This time, it was a woman with a sinister face. She used black magic to attack Chen. Jen was stunned by the sudden attack. If he took her back, he would send her to hell. Chen Zhao went to another cave. This time, the owner was a cowardly man. Friend, can you tell me where Deathly Poisoner is? The cowardly man looked at Chen with fear in his eyes. Chen wouldn't let his guard down just because of the man's cowardly gaze. Everyone here was a cultist. His gaze and expression might just be a disguise. I'm Deathly Poisoner. At least that's what they call me. You said you're Deathly Poisoner. Chen tilted his head. Just from his name alone, this Deathly Poison Man was an extremely dangerous man. He was also sinister and despicable, good at using poison. But this man didn't look like a sinister person at all. However, there were indeed many bottles and jars in this cave. It did look like a place for chemical experiments. After some hesitation, Chen was even more convinced that this man was disguising himself. Fine, I'll tell you the truth. I want the death plague poison and the antidote. Who are you? You're not a cultist. Deathly Poisoner looked at Chen in shock. Chen glanced at him. Cultists wouldn't call themselves cultists. They called themselves believers of God or believers of God. Of course, even so, Chen didn't let his guard down. If you help me escape from here, I will give you the antidote to the death plague. Escape? Chen squinted at Deathly Poisoner. Why do you want to escape? I was captured and brought here. I didn't want to come here at all, Deathly Poisoner explained anxiously. Chen crossed his arms and stared at Deathly Poisoner. But I don't trust you, Chen said bluntly. How can you prove your words? I can't prove it. What proof can I have? Deathly Poison Man said helplessly. Give me the antidote and don't do anything else. Just hide in the cave and don't come out no matter what happens outside. If you do, I'll kill you. Jen wasn't completely sure if Death Poison Man was good or evil, nor could he be sure if his words were true. Therefore, Chen made a compromise. If he disobeyed and left his cave, no matter if he was good or bad, he might expose himself. Therefore, there was no problem in killing them directly. If he continued to hide in the cave, Chen would have plenty of time to determine whether he was good or evil. The Deathly Poison Man laughed bitterly. I can't get out at all. If I were to leave the cave and be seen by those cultists, they would attack me and even kill me. These are the poison and antidote for the plague. The Deathly Poison Man handed 2 bottles to Jen. The red one is the antidote, and the black one is the poison. Of course, Jen would not believe Deathly Poison Man's words. Jen caught another cultist from next door to test the poison. It was indeed a symptom of the plague. After using the antidote, Jen was sure that the antidote worked. Jen was not in a hurry to act. Instead, he wandered around the nest. He had to admit that there were all kinds of cultists here. Moreover, many of them were quite strong. They even had their own awareness. They knew what they were doing. Actually, there were many cultists like Jen who wandered around. There were even some evil cultists who walked around with the sole purpose of killing. Killing was not forbidden here, nor was it forbidden to kill each other. As long as one was strong and capable, killing each other was allowed. Although to Jen, this was completely inhumane. Nevertheless, this attitude reduced the possibility of Jen being found out. Anyone could be killed here. Suddenly, there was a huge cave entrance in front of him. There was even a wooden fence at the entrance. It looked different from the other caves. Jen walked to the entrance and heard screams coming from inside. Jen walked into the cave without realizing it. He saw Malone being tied up. 2 cultists were torturing him with magic. In just a short period of time, Marin was already covered with cuts and bruises. Jen recognized one of the torturers. When he saw Jen, he stared at him coldly. This is not a place you should be. But I'm already here. What should I do? Get out. Jen walked up and grabbed the cultist's neck. Sorry, I don't know how to get out. Jen tossed the corpse on the ground. Another cultist saw Jen kill someone here. He immediately yelled, "Why are you doing this? Even if you have a grudge against him, you shouldn't do it here." Jen raised his finger and pointed at the second cultist. Seeing this, the cultist immediately cast a defensive spell. An electric snake shot out from Jen's fingertip and pierced through the cultist's head. Rubbing his chin, Jen smiled at Malone. Malone raised his head weakly and looked at Jen. Jen walked up and pinched Malone's chin. Ignoring his struggles, he stuffed the antidote into his mouth. Then, Jen turned and left. Malone thought that Jen was feeding him poison again, but he soon realized that his injured body was rapidly recovering. Was that the antidote? Malone's face was filled with shock. By now, he had enough power. Malone broke the magic ropes that bound his hands and feet. Malone chased out of the cave, but Jen had already disappeared. What was that guy's goal? Malone didn't understand. Malone felt his body's condition. He was recovering faster than he imagined. Marlon tapped his forehead with his finger. He had a very close contract with Terry Boyle. They could communicate from a distance. Lord Boyle, I'm free. I've brought West and the others to the cursed spirit's nest. We're coming in disguised as cultists. Lord Boyle, this is a trap for you. I know. How are you now? Are you in danger? I was saved by a cultist, but I'm not sure if he has any ill intentions. I don't understand his intentions. My poisoning was largely related to him, but he just killed 2 of his companions and gave me the antidote. I'm worried that they have a bigger plan, and that's not a good thing. I think you should leave this place now, Fupin Chinese said. Chapter 2027. Even if it's a trap, I'm not afraid, Terry Boyle said. Terry Boyle said, the grudge between me and the spirit of vengeance should come to an end. Moreover, he dared to attack you. Terry Boyle was furious. In his eyes, Marlon was his family. Now, his family was hurt. This was a vendetta that would not end until one of them died. Of course, even without this, Terry Boyle would still make the same choice. At this moment, the cultists noticed Terry Boyle and the others. This was understandable. After all, this was a deliberate trap for Terry Boyle. Therefore, the spirit of Cursed and the cultists had been waiting for Terry. A large number of cultists launched a suicide attack on Terry and the supernatural organization. Go ahead and fight, Terry Boyle said. Marlon is free now, so my power is starting to recover. With Terry Boyle's words, everyone felt more at ease. To be honest, they would rather have Terry fight. They wouldn't send a distress signal to Qin Zhao. Especially West. Every time he talked to Qin Zhao would ask if he needed help. Each time, West would proudly say no. West felt that if he asked Qin Zhao for help this time, he would lose all his dignity. Boom, 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 Qin Zhao looked up and heard a familiar voice. It was hard not to notice Jallanash's exaggerated entrance. Jallanash plunged into the lair of the cursed spirits. She didn't care where her teammates were. She just wanted to kill to her heart's content. After all, her spell of mass destruction was a lethal weapon. Jallanash floated above the nest. A small sun descended from the sky and blasted the bottom of the nest. Rumble, after a huge explosion, the entire nest shook. Qin Zhao was also affected by the huge shockwave. The flames engulfed him. However, this kind of impact was no threat to him. He was more concerned about Jallanash's safety. Jallanash was too impulsive. Moreover, this place was filled with all kinds of dangers. Qin Zhao had circled around for a few hours. He knew very well how dangerous this place was. The attacks of the cultists were often unpredictable. And Jallanash indulged in unbridled destruction. This put her in danger unknowingly. At this time, another loud noise came from the entrance of the nest. Gaia also charged in. Jocelyn Nash, you're too impulsive, Gaia said reproachfully. Gaia, don't worry. These pieces of trash can't hurt me at all. Girls of Jallanash's age didn't like to be nagged by adults. He moved and flew to the front of a cave. Then, he released hundreds of small fireballs directly into the cave. Boom boom boom, terrifying flames and heat waves rushed out of the cave. Just as Jolanash was about to fly away, a rope shot out from the flames and wrapped around her ankle. Oh no! Seeing Jolanash in danger, Gaia immediately went to save her. But at that moment, a few cultists held Gaia back, preventing her from saving Jolanash immediately. Jolanash was dragged into the cave. While being dragged, Jolanash released a wind blade at the rope around her ankle. But the rope was clearly enchanted, and Jolanash's wind blades had no effect on it. Delicious, delicious girl. A cultist licked his lips. He wore a bright red robe and behind him stood a body made of fire elements. This flame body was an elemental agitator, a type of fire element. It was because of this that Jolanash's bombardment had been ineffective. Flustered, Jolanash shot another spell at the cultist. But it was blocked by the agitator. Ropes shot out from the cultist's sleeves. The ropes danced under the cultist's control. A dozen ropes suddenly shot toward Jolanash. Oh no! Instinctively, Jolanash covered her face. But the next moment, she saw a hand appear behind her and grab the ropes. Jolanash turned around and was shocked to see Chen Zhao standing behind her. Chen Zhao pulled the ropes over and pulled the cultist before him. Then he smashed his head. Seeing that his summoner was killed, the agitator charged at Chen Zhao in a frenzy. An electric snake shot out from Chen Zhao's finger and pierced through the agitator. The agitator's body collapsed and exploded. President! President! Why are you here? Is this how you usually fight? Ignoring West strategy. Charging around like this. Do you think you're invincible? You shouldn't have made them worry, Chen Zhao said coldly. President. I was wrong. You should apologize to them. Chen Zhao suddenly looked outside. Gaia is here. Don't let them know I'm here. With that, Chen Zhao went into hiding. Jolanash was speechless. They'd agreed not to attack. In the end, Chen Zhao still snuck over. Jolanash, how are you? Are you okay? Gaia looked at the headless corpse on the ground and the scattered bloodstains around it. Clearly, the cultist's head had been smashed by a tremendous force. I'm fine. Gaia, let's go out. Jolanash knew that she'd definitely be scolded and punished this time. However, if Chen Zhao was exposed, then Chen Zhao's revenge would be even more severe. Gaia looked around the cavern. Then, she took a deep breath and suddenly spat out dragon breath at the shadows in the cave. Rumble, Gaia, what are you doing? Nothing. I just feel like there's a bug hiding here. Gaia shrugged and turned to leave with Jolanash. Don't act recklessly. You're not as strong as Chen Zhao. Got it. What could Jolanash say? No matter how impatient she was, she didn't dare to retort near Chen Zhao. If she made Chen Zhao angry, he'd probably spank her without caring where they were. At this time, everyone had already killed their way into the lair of the cursed spirits. However, Chen Zhao still hadn't seen the spirit appear. This guy was really a coward. Someone was already at his door, but he still didn't show up. How cowardly was he? Chen Zhao sat quietly in one of the caves and watched as his people destroyed the place. To be honest, they were like the demolition workers. Their destructive power was superb. Just then, a figure appeared before Chen Zhao. Malone looked at Chen Zhao, who was sitting at the entrance of the cave with all sorts of snacks and beer on the ground. Chapter 2028. Can't you tell? Just watch. Chen Zhao tilted his head back and drank a mouthful of beer. Then he tossed the can down. Malone frowned at Chen Zhao. He was a little clear on whether Chen Zhao was a friend or foe. Chen Zhao's actions were too strange. He wasn't sure if he should attack Chen Zhao. Just then, a cultist charged at them. Chen Zhao lifted his finger and pointed. Another bolt of lightning shot out. The cultist's body was pierced. Malone realized that Chen Zhao was very strong. He wasn't as strong as when Malone had pressed him to the ground and beaten him up the first time. Malone estimated that according to Chen Zhao's current strength, Chen Zhao wouldn't be able to defeat him so easily. If they really fought back then, Malone didn't dare to say that he could beat Chen Zhao so easily, even though he believed that he wouldn't lose. From the start, Chen Zhao hadn't really attacked him. If Chen Zhao had attacked him and cooperated with the other cultists, Malone would have lost even worse. But those cultists clearly knew him. Of course, there was another possibility. Chen Zhao was a spiritualist who'd snuck into the cult with an ulterior motive. Or, it could be said that all of this was a conspiracy. A scheme that Malone couldn't understand. What exactly do you want? Malone asked. None of your business. If you don't want to tell me, I can only use violence, Malone said coldly. Chen Zhao burped. Are you going to use violence on a drunk person? I see that you're still very sober. Don't worry, I won't go too far. Malone suddenly charged at Chen Zhao. Bang! Malone suddenly felt that he'd lost control of his body. His body flew backward and embedded itself into the wall. What? Malone vomited large mouthfuls of blood. If it wasn't for Terry Boyle's strength, he would have died. Malone, I can feel that you're heavily injured again. What's wrong? Did you encounter a strong enemy? Terry Boyle asked anxiously. I'm fine. Malone spat out some blood and wiped the blood from his mouth. This time, Malone finally looked at Chen Zhao seriously. In the past, Malone had always looked down on Chen Zhao. Even though Chen Zhao's repeated actions were still suspicious, Chen Zhao didn't care. Malone had always treated it as a matter of course. But Chen Zhao's casual counterattack made him realize how terrifying Chen Zhao was. After all, Chen Zhao had used a physical attack to counterattack just now. And physical attacks happened to be Malone's forte. You've angered me, do you know that? Malone said in a low voice. Chen Zhao was still half paralyzed at the entrance of the cave, one foot crossed over the other. With one hand supporting his head, he still had that condescending attitude. If you don't like me, you can try to kill me. Don't regret it, Marlon reminded. I won't regret it, Chen Zhao said casually. You can't beat me. Take this. Pang! It was both the process and the result of the connection. The only difference was that Malone's injuries were more severe this time. Malone continued to vomit blood, as though he was about to vomit his lungs out. What did I say? You can't beat me. Terry Boyle sensed that Malone was heavily injured again, so he asked about Malone's situation again. Lord Boyle, please leave. There's a very powerful cultist here. I can't even take one blow from him. If he joins forces with the spirit of cursing, you'll be in danger. I won't leave you behind. Plus, the situation you're worried about doesn't exist. I'm the nature guardian. No one on this grassland can defeat me. Malone was worried about Terry Boyle's attitude. Terry Boyle's fearless attitude might put him in danger. Just then, the ground started shaking violently. Then, a huge object charged into the cave from outside. It was the nature guardian, Terry Boyle. However, he'd charged in his original form. The originally spacious cave couldn't fit him at all. However, Terry Boyle used brute force to smash open a path. Bongla, get out here, you coward. At this time, the temple that was originally standing in the middle began to emit cracking sounds. It was the sound of skulls hitting each other. The sound of a million skulls hitting each other made one's scalp go numb. This was definitely not a good sign. Something seemed to be hiding in the temple. Chen Zhao sensed that there was something in the temple. An evil and ominous aura. But he soon realized that he was wrong. That thing wasn't in the temple. The temple was that thing. A million skulls flew into the air. They were the spirit of cursing. Is this the spirit of cursing's original form? No wonder he couldn't find the spirit of cursing. It had been right under his nose all along. Millions of skulls flew into the air at the same time. It was a shocking scene. Terry Boyle, our final battle is finally here. Today, I will definitely win. The spirit of cursing's voice sounded like hundreds of thousands of people speaking at the same time. It was accompanied by the sound of countless bones hitting each other. Bongla, come. This is what I've been waiting for. Terry responded to the spirit of cursing's challenge. In an instant, the millions of skulls released spells at the same time. Moreover, these 1 million skulls were not releasing the same type of magic. Instead, they released various spells. It was like a million spiritualists releasing spells at the same time. How shocking would that be? Fuck, this is what I've been waiting for. Gorgeous spells, Chen Zhao muttered to himself. It was too shocking and gorgeous. It was so gorgeous that it left one speechless and shocked. The spells released by the million skulls were all below the intermediate level. But when there was a qualitative change, there would be a quantitative change. Even Ma Long was shocked by this. He had once destroyed a clone of the spirit of cursing under Terry Boyle's lead. But back then, the clone had only been a few hundred skulls. At that time, Malone had thought that killing a clone of the spirit of cursing would greatly weaken the spirit of cursing. But now, it seemed that the destruction of the clone had almost no effect on the original body. This time, Malone truly understood the difference between the clone of the spirit of vengeance and the main body. It could not be understood with common sense. I'm starting to admire this guy. He's so powerful, Chen Zhao said in amazement. The spirit of cursing's magic was a clone, but it gathered into a torrent of elements and magic. Terry Boyle spat out a mouthful of dragon breath. Turn everything into nothing. Chapter 2029. Terry Boyd's dragon breath couldn't completely dispel the directional spells. Also, some spells were not directional spells. Furthermore, the number of spells that the spirit of cursed had was simply too many, so many that it was outrageous. Terry Boyle was instantly hit by tens of thousands of spells. At the same time, his almost indestructible dragon scales and magic resistance also instantly lost their effect. In an instant, Terry Boyle was covered in cuts and bruises. However, Terry Boyle's wounds were healing at an astonishing speed. Terry Boyle's aura was rich and full of affinity with nature. Bangla, don't you understand? If you can't kill me instantly, you won't be able to defeat me. You've tried countless times in the past hundreds of years, Terry Boyle said confidently. The more power you absorb from nature, the more damage you will cause to nature. The spirit of cursing said, this is my ultimate goal. In recent years, I have understood that the possibility of destroying the world and mankind alone is too low. However, I have also learned a lot from humans. I know what the food chain is, what the biological chain is, and what the balance mechanism is. I don't need to destroy the whole world directly. I just need to destroy and pollute. If the balance mechanism collapses, then mankind and the world will eventually come to an end. What you're doing is superfluous. Humans have been unwavering on the path of self-destruction. As a bystander, Chen Zhao didn't like how the two non-human creatures judged humans. But he couldn't refute it. Just as Terry Boyle had said, humans were indeed courting death. However, Chen Zhao felt that the spirit of cursing was scheming against Terry Boyle. This shouldn't be all he had. The battle between the two of them would probably continue for a while. Chen Zhao wasn't in a hurry to intervene. Seeing that Chen Zhao seemed to be moving, Marlon immediately tensed up. He looked at Chen Zhao warily to see what he was going to do. If Chen Zhao wanted to interfere with the battle between the spirit of cursing and Terry Boyle, Marlon felt that he had to stop him. However, Chen Zhao clearly wasn't going to interfere with this inhuman battle. Chen Zhao circled to another cave. Naturally, Malone followed closely behind. But when he followed them in, he realized that Chen Zhao wasn't plotting anything. Malone saw a corpse on the ground. Based on his attire and posture, it was easy to tell that he was a cultist. On the other hand, Chen Zhao was tidying up the items left behind by the cultist. Malone was now absolutely certain that this fellow was not a cult member. He was far more dangerous than the cultists. Robbing and killing cultists. Only this guy would do such a thing. At this time, a female cultist appeared outside the door. The female cultist looked at the corpses on the ground and then at the two people in the cave. Her face twisted and she roared, "Who are you? What did you do to my husband?" Obviously. Chen Zhao looked back at the female cultist. "I'll kill you." The female cultist screamed, and Marlon immediately covered his ears in pain. His mouth, nose, and ears were all bleeding. Chen Zhao was surprised. This female cultist's ability was very similar to Maev's. Of course, it was also because of this that he knew how to deal with this female cultist. Chen Zhao instantly appeared before the female cultist. He pinched her mouth and the surroundings quietened down. The female cultist looked at Chen Zhao in terror. She whimpered as if she was begging for mercy. Malone couldn't bear to see this, but it was too late for him to stop it. The female cultist's body slumped onto the ground powerlessly. Chen Zhao clapped his hands. "You're too cruel, you evil person." Chen Zhao glanced at Marlon. "I saved you. Is this how you treat your benefactor? I was ambushed because of you too." "Me? I didn't attack you at all. You were ambushed at the right time. Even if I wasn't there, you would still be ambushed. If it wasn't for you, how could I have been ambushed?" What a joke. You clearly had the ability to avoid that ambush, but you naively thought that you could escape unscathed. It's your arrogance that put you in danger. Are you blaming me for that too? Marlon was speechless. If one really wanted to get to the bottom of it, it was indeed not Chen Zhao's fault. You're far from being invincible. Chen Zhao sneered and turned to leave the cave. Marlon stared at Chen Zhao's back. "Who exactly are you?" Chen Zhao ignored Marlon's question and continued walking. Marlon followed closely behind. He still didn't trust Chen Zhao. Marlon realized that Chen Zhao never needed a second attack to kill the cultists. The cultists were still arrogant a moment ago, but in the next moment, Chen Zhao would smash their heads or snap their necks. Compared to Chen Zhao, the cultists were more like cute kindergarten kids. Chen Zhao saw that there was a huge hole right below the battlefield. The battle above was already in full swing, but Chen Zhao seemed to be uninvolved. Chen Zhao glanced at the hole. There seemed to be something down there. It was an evil existence even stronger than the cursed spirit above. Strange. What's down there? Judging from the aura, the two seemed to be very similar. Chen Zhao thought for a moment and jumped into the hole. Seeing Chen Zhao jump into the hole, Marlon also jumped in. The cave was very deep. It was at least 1,000 meters deep. Chen Zhao and Marlon landed one after the other. Marlon had been leaning against the wall to slow down the fall. Otherwise, even he would die if he fell from such a height. But he saw that Qin Zhao's feet were on the ground. There was no resistance at all. The ground cracked from Qin Zhao's fall. Marlin couldn't imagine how hard Qin Zhao's legs were. Even if Qin Zhao's legs were made of iron, they would probably be smashed into scrap metal after jumping from such a height. Marlin saw that it was a hemispherical room. The ceiling was circular and the ground was very flat. The room was covered in all sorts of strange patterns. In the corner of the room, there was a stone chair. A gray-skinned demon sat on it. The demon held a black sword in his hand. He was lying on the stone chair in the posture of Guyu. Seeing Qin Zhao and Marlin enter the room, the demon propped himself up with the sword. Let me guess. Are you guys lost? Or are you here to kill demons? The demon tilted his head and looked at Qin Zhao and Marlin. Qin Zhao shrugged. To satisfy my curiosity. Your aura is very similar to that thing up there. I think you created that cursed spirit. Cursed spirit. You mean Bangla? The demon looked at Qin Zhao. Do you want to replace him? I can give you the same power, but you have to do one thing. Chapter 2030. What is it? Qin Zhao asked. Malone frowned. A demon. He couldn't help but be alarmed. Such an evil existence was very good at bewitching people. Qin Zhao was so lustful. It was too easy for him to be bewitched. You two kill each other, the demon said, looking at Qin Zhao and Malone. I'll give you the power you want if you can kill the other. Qin Zhao glanced at Malone. Instantly, alarm bells went off in Malone's mind. You can't paint a big picture for me. You only said that you would give me the power I want, but you didn't ask me how much power I want. You should at least show me your power. It would be best if it could shock me. Don't you think so? The demon grinned. You're right. Then show me how strong you are. The demon opened his arms. Qin Zhao could feel his power being released. Then the space around them started twisting. Malone's vision blurred. He saw that his surroundings had turned into a different environment. He was surrounded by a valley filled with blooming flowers, and the surroundings of the valley were shrouded in fog. Malone sucked in a breath of cold air. What was going on? Weren't they under the hole just a moment ago? Why did they suddenly come here? Only Qin Zhao's face was full of disdain. Sir, don't fool me with spatial magic. Qin Zhao was very displeased. It seemed that they'd moved from the underground hole to a strange valley. In reality, they hadn't moved at all. It was the space that moved. They'd entered an alternate dimension. This should be a permanent alternate dimension, like the one Qin Zhao had created in Mingyue Villa. There was nothing special about it. Malone looked at Qin Zhao in confusion. He clearly didn't understand spatial magic. That was why he was surprised by Qin Zhao's calmness. To him, this was already a very powerful spell. But in Qin Zhao's eyes, it was too ordinary. Spatial magic required a lot of magic power, but it was very easy to cast. Those who knew it would find it easy, but those who didn't would find it unimaginable. The demon looked at Qin Zhao. Human, this is enough. You won't be able to accept too much power even if it's in front of you. Why don't you put your power in front of me and see if I can accept it? As long as you complete my request, you can have as much power as you want. At this moment, Malone spoke up. What if we reject your request? Qin Zhao pursed his lips. Marlin was afraid that Qin Zhao would really attack him. That was why he was the first to answer the devil's question. Then you'll both die here. The demon glared at Qin Zhao and Marlin. We should work together instead of being manipulated by this demon, Malone whispered to Qin Zhao. But his conditions are really attractive. Chen Zhao blinked and grinned at Marlin. Marlin's expression changed slightly, and he said solemnly, "He is a demon. You should know of many who have been bewitched by a demon and fallen into a state of eternal damnation. Submitting to him will not do you any good." Chen Zhao looked troubled, as if he'd really been bewitched by the demon. Conflicted, he said, "That's true, but the power is right in front of me. It's hard to reject." "That's right," the demon said. "In this world, only power is irresistible. If you have power, you'll have everything." He felt that Chen Zhao should be attracted by his conditions. Chen Zhao said helplessly, "I really want your power, but I can't beat him. How about you help me kill him and then pretend that I killed him?" Marlin was speechless. He felt like Chen Zhao was playing with the demon. The demon's face darkened even more. "Human, I, Askamor, will not tolerate your provocation. I'll give you one last chance. Kill the people around you, or else you'll die here immediately. Let's go together." Marlin roared and charged at the demon called Askamor. In his opinion, the demon probably wanted them to kill each other because he couldn't deal with both of them at the same time. Askamor glanced at Marlin casually. He raised the black crystal-like sword in his hand and casually swung it down. Hiss! There was a tearing sound in the air. Marlin instantly felt great danger. Suddenly, Marlin felt a strong force tug at his back and he flew backward. Chen Zhao grabbed Marlin's collar. "Don't be too rash. You'll die." Marlin's face paled. "I won't lose so easily. Don't underestimate me." Chen Zhao pointed at where Marlin had been standing. There was a huge ditch in the ground. The ditch extended all the way back. Not far away, a hill that was dozens of meters tall had been cut off. Marlin's expression changed drastically. Was this a random attack from the demon? What kind of power was this? Even Terry Boyle probably didn't have this kind of power. Askamor looked at the two arrogantly. "You have one last chance. One or two die." Marlin's chest heaved. He looked at Chen Zhao nervously. Would Chen Zhao yield to Askamor's threat? Askamor's cold gaze seemed to be able to penetrate Chen Zhao and Marlin's hearts. His aura grew stronger and stronger. It was as if the entire world was pressing down on them. "Which demon king are you subordinate to?" Chen Zhao asked curiously. "I'm subordinate to the King of Power," Askamor said proudly. He was very satisfied and proud of his bloodline. Subordinate to the King of Power. A smile slowly appeared on Chen Zhao's face. "I don't want your power. I just want a drop of your demon blood. Is that okay?" "No." Askamor snorted. "My noble bloodline isn't allowed for a lowly creature like you to have it, even if you worship it. But I want it. Can't we bend the rules a little?" Chen Zhao looked at Askamor helplessly. "I said it's not allowed. Do I have to give it to you just because you want it? You're just a lowly ant without enough power. How can you have my blood? Not even a drop." Askamor looked at Chen Zhao in disdain. "If you want it, take it yourself, as long as you have the ability. If you give it to me voluntarily, I'll just take one drop. But if I take it myself, it won't be one drop." Chen Zhao started to move his joints. Marlin looked at Chen Zhao in shock. Was he going to fight Askamor? Chapter 2031. That was the power that Askamor had displayed. Even if they were 10 times stronger, they still wouldn't be his match. He was an undefeatable enemy. Hearing Chen Zhao's words, Askamor laughed instead of getting angry. "Very good, human. You're the first person to be so arrogant before me. I'll give you a chance to challenge me. Challenge is too shameless. You're so strong and have an invincible weapon. You know that this challenge is meaningless to me. Where's your pride as a demon? Is this your pride? Ascamore laughed. Since you say that, I'll lend you the sword, as long as you can pick it up. Ascamore released the hilt very arrogantly and the blade stabbed into the ground. The moment the blade stabbed into the ground, a pattern appeared on the surrounding ground. Malone recognized the pattern. It was a power emblem, a magic array that the spellcaster's own power was used to suppress it. Without power that surpassed the spellcaster, one wouldn't be able to break the power emblem or lift the sword. This kind of spell had appeared many times in history. The most famous example was King Arthur and the sword in the stone. Apart from King Arthur, no one could pull out the sword in the stone. Of course, that was a spell specially made for King Arthur. It was like a backdoor for a computer program. Please, as long as you can lift the sword, I don't mind giving it to you. Ascamore took 2 steps back generously. Ascamore's eyes shone with evil light. Better be careful, Malone said. I'll try first. Sure. Chen Zhao nodded. Malone grabbed the hilt and pulled with all his might. But the blade didn't move at all. Then, Malone felt his power being absorbed by the sword. Damn! It's a wrestling emblem. Malone lay on the ground softly. Don't touch the sword. Why? This guy used a wrestling emblem. If you can't pull it out with your power will be absorbed by the sword and become a stronger emblem. It's already absorbed all my power. I see. Chen Zhao walked slowly to the black sword as if he hadn't heard Malone's warning. You idiot! Malone yelled. But Chen Zhao still reached for the hilt. Clang! Malone's eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. He stared at Chen Zhao in shock. Chen Zhao pulled out the black sword. And he didn't seem to be struggling at all. It was pulled out just like that. Ascamore was also in disbelief. How was this possible? However, Chen Zhao took advantage of Ascamore's shock to suddenly appear before him. He raised his black sword and slashed at Ascamore. Ascamore couldn't dodge in time, and his left arm and shoulder were chopped off. Damn it, you despicable human. Ascamore fled in a sorry state. But Chen Zhao chased closely behind. Malone's face was filled with disbelief. Ascamore suddenly stopped in his tracks and turned his head around. By then, Chen Zhao had already raised his sword and slashed at Ascamore's head. But at that moment, the tip of the sword stopped. Finally, Ascamore's transformation was complete. He was like a muscular monster, exuding an insufferably terrifying power from head to toe. Human, you didn't stop my transformation. This will be the biggest mistake of your life. Ascamore's body had grown from 2 meters to 6 meters, and his arms were as thick as siege hammers. Chen Zhao looked up at Ascamore silently. Unfortunately, I'm also good at strength. Chapter 2032. Ascamore's huge arm was already swinging toward Chen Zhao. Malone's pupils constricted. He saw an unbelievable scene. Ascamore's arm was twisting in an unbelievable way. The twisting wasn't of Ascamore's will. Chen Zhao had forcefully twisted it. Ascamore's huge body was kicked away by Chen Zhao. At the same time, his arm was left behind. Chen Zhao grabbed Ascamore's right arm and squeezed out the demon's blood like a rag. I said that if I do it myself, it won't be as simple as a drop of blood. Ah! I'm going to kill you. Ascamore roared furiously. At this moment, his strength increased once again. Chen Zhao realized that Ascamore's strength had multiplied again. At the same time, his speed had multiplied as well. Bang! Chen Zhao didn't notice and was hit by Ascamore's punch. Malone's heart skipped a beat as he watched. With Ascamore's terrifying physique, one punch from him would probably turn him into a bloody mess. Chen Zhao fell a few meters away and stood up again. Your strength is special. Ascamore grinned at Chen Zhao. I have a high-level bloodline. I'm the descendant of the King of Power for the first 10 generations. The more serious my injuries are, the more my strength will increase. Azicamus smashed the ground with one arm, and the ground was filled with dust. The area within a radius of tens of meters was cracked by him. Malone's scalp went numb. Could a human really defeat this demon? The more serious his injuries, the more his strength would increase. Chen Zhao patted the dust off his body. Then you should have more serious injuries. Chen Zhao looked at Ascamore calmly. Ascamore charged at Chen Zhao again, like a train charging at him. Chen Zhao stepped forward and punched from dozens of meters away. Ascamore's body was sent flying again. In the end, he smashed into the mountain wall behind him. Half of the wall collapsed and rubble fell down. Malone felt like he was suffocating. Chen Zhao and Ascamore's battle had opened up a whole new world for him. Both Chen Zhao and Ascamore were so powerful that they were suffocating. Ascamore pushed away the boulder on his body and vomited a few mouthfuls of blood. Human, you still haven't learned your lesson. I've said it before, the more you injure me, the stronger I will become. Giant's hammer. Ascamore smashed into the ground, creating a shockwave that surged toward Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao dodged Ascamore's attack. However, Ascamore seemed to have seen through Chen Zhao's movements. He was already waiting for him at the place where Chen Zhao dodged. Chen Zhao was hit head-on by Ascamore's punch. His feet slid back more than 10 meters. He exerted strength in his legs again and suddenly appeared before Ascamore, punching again. Ascamore slid back a dozen meters as well. Both sides were fighting in an extremely simple manner. It was like a pair of boxers in the ring, beating each other up. You punch, I punch. And Ascamore was just as he said. As Chen Zhao attacked and his injuries worsened, his power grew stronger and stronger. The entire space was shaking, and the earth was cracking. This was an alternate space, so it was obviously not as stable as a normal space. As the two forces grew stronger, the entire alternate space was on the verge of collapse. Ascamore was indeed getting stronger and stronger. But his limbs were also cracking. His mouth, nose, and ears were all bleeding. Ascamore vomited another mouthful of blood. The already turbulent alternate space collapsed directly. They returned to the hemispherical room. But their battle was getting more and more intense. However, what surprised Chen Zhao was that in this room, all the impact they created would be absorbed by the surrounding runes. Suddenly, Chen Zhao understood. This was a seal. A seal that trapped Ascamore. Ascamore was also at his limit now. Stop. Human. Stop, I admit defeat. Ascamore had to stop. His power had reached its peak, which was relative to his body's limit. His injuries were also at their limit. But Chen Zhao seemed to have no limit at all. No matter how much his power increased, Chen Zhao could always increase it by the same amount. What terrified him even more was, his attacks had no effect on Chen Zhao at all. But every time Chen Zhao attacked, his injuries would worsen. Ascamore's body was already a bloody mess. Chen Zhao was only panting slightly. His chest didn't rise and fall much. Marin was even more shocked. This was a battle that was hard to deal with. Both sides were displaying extreme power. However, Chen Zhao was clearly better. Chen Zhao's power was overwhelming. Chen Zhao stood calmly before Ascamore. I said that when I come to take it personally, it won't be a drop of demon blood. I'm greedy. I want all of you, everything you have. I've been sealed here for thousands of years. I'm pitiful enough. Are you going to kick me when I'm down? You've been sealed for thousands of years. But it looks like you didn't stay here obediently at all. You're still causing trouble. Human, I still have a trump card. I have a dying strike. That's an attack that no human can withstand. Chen Zhao was still so calm. You'll definitely die today, whether you use it or not. Askamor gritted his teeth and looked at Chen Zhao. Why do you have to force me? I'm not forcing you. This is your own choice. Also, I really want to see how powerful your dying strike is. Marin looked at Chen Zhao. Hadn't he used his full power? He was so powerful. Was he really not at his limit? Askamor was still conflicted. If he used that move, death would befall him. But if he didn't use it, Chen Zhao would still bring him death. Fine. Let's die together. Askamor suddenly calmed down. It seemed that he'd made a decision. I hope you can do it. Chen Zhao turned to Marin. If you don't want to die, hide behind me. Marin stood up with difficulty, but his legs were trembling. I can't walk. Then wait for your death. In any case, I only had my power absorbed because I was fighting against him. But it's useless. Even if you didn't pull the sword out, I could still pull it out, so you're useless. Hearing Chen Zhao's words, Marin felt very stifled, but it made sense. Chapter 2033. Askamor took a deep breath, and the runes around him began to detach from the wall and surround his body. Chen Zhao realized that Askamor's life force was rapidly disappearing. Chen Zhao didn't know how this spell worked, but he understood. But Chen Zhao understood. Askamor was injecting his life force into the runes. These runes trapped Askamor, but Askamor could control these runes. But this control was one time, because he was using his life force to control them. After Askamor used it once, the runes would lose their effect. Askamor would die too. It could be said that the person who sealed Askamor here was quite vicious. He'd given Askamor a choice. He could choose freedom, but he would also have to face death. Or he could stay here obediently, but he had no freedom at all. The person who'd sealed him was clearly very familiar with Askamor. All the runes lit up. It was different from the slow speed when Askamor transformed. When Askamor used his trump card, it was very fast. It was done in a matter of seconds. The next moment, the runes started imprinting on Askamor's body. The originally dark skin of Askamor had turned into a golden glow. Chen Zhao immediately cast dark assimilation on himself. Chen Zhao's body turned black. Chen Zhao could feel that Askamor's life force was almost depleted. How long can you last in this state? 10 seconds. Askamor didn't hesitate, because he only had 10 seconds. Kill. Instantly, Askamor shot toward Chen Zhao. In terms of speed, Askamor was faster than Chen Zhao in this state. Chen Zhao's body was smashed into the curved ceiling above his head. Chen Zhao felt an unprecedented impact. Askamor was also stronger than Chen Zhao in the dark assimilation state. Askamor was already prepared to die. Thus, he wasn't as proud and arrogant as before. He calmly released his final madness. Let's go to hell together, Askamor said calmly. Askamor blasted out thousands of shadows of his fists. This move was the same as Chen Zhao's. It seemed that once one's strength reached a certain level, this move would be self-taught. Malone broke out in cold sweat. Previously, all he saw was Chen Zhao suppressing Askamor. But now, it was Askamor who was suppressing Chen Zhao. Even Chen Zhao couldn't last more than 10 seconds under that kind of bombardment, right? The rock layer above the ceiling began to shatter. Rocks continued to fall. Askamor had already smashed Chen Zhao into the rock stratum and was still attacking him. Chen Zhao could feel it too. Dark assimilation alone was clearly not enough to fight Askamor. Chen Zhao was also sick of Askamor's ultimate move. At this moment, Malone, who was directly below, could do nothing but dodge the falling rocks with great difficulty. He had only recovered a little of his strength, which allowed him to move. Although Askamor's bombardment lasted for a long time, it had only lasted for less than 5 seconds. Just then, Malone felt the air turn sluggish. Malone raised his head and looked at the sky. Above the falling rocks, there was a golden glow. Then, Malone saw Askamor being stepped on by a golden giant. Bang! The flat ground was completely covered in cracks. Askamor lay on the ground, unable to get up from Chen Zhao's foot. Looks like your wish didn't come true. I can't go to hell with you. Chen Zhao was in his full state now. The overwhelming power made Askamor feel a deep sense of despair. Chen Zhao in his normal state and Chen Zhao in his full state were two completely different things. Askamor's limbs were spread open, and he lay on the ground with his back spread out. He didn't have any more power to continue fighting Chen Zhao. After 10 seconds, his state started to decline greatly. I lost. Askamor was unprecedentedly calm. In that case, I'll send you to see your boss. Actually, if a demon died, their soul would still return to hell. But after losing their bodies, only their souls were left. They were more miserable than humans. After all, for most demons, there was nothing better than a demon's soul without the protection of a physical body. Many demons were able to draw power from the souls of others. If it was a normal human soul, it could only absorb very little power. But if it was a demon's soul, then it could absorb a lot of power. Moreover, Askamor was a mid-level demon, which was quite rare. Chen Zhao wouldn't feel like he was a friend to Askamor. Chen Zhao was very clear about enemies and friends. An enemy was an enemy. Appreciating each other was just nonsense. Chen Zhao plucked off Askamor's head. Malone looked at Chen Zhao's huge body in shock. He could also enlarge himself. For an excellent strength-type spiritualist, enlarging himself was normal. But Chen Zhao's enlargement seemed to have caused his power to change drastically. Just then, the rocks above fell even faster. The battle between Chen Zhao and Askamor had already destroyed the geological structure above. The place was about to collapse. Grabbing Malone, Chen Zhao suddenly flew up. Even with Malone's body, he couldn't withstand the pressure from such high speed. Chen Zhao carried Malone and jumped between Terry Boyle and the spirit of cursing. Terry didn't know Chen Zhao. Seeing Chen Zhao grab the weak Malone, he immediately charged at Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao sent Terry Boyle flying with a slap. The spirit of cursing didn't know Chen Zhao when he suddenly appeared. But Chen Zhao clearly wasn't on Terry's side. Plus, Chen Zhao was very powerful. So, the spirit of cursing was very excited. How could he have imagined that when he and Terry Boyle were locked in a fierce battle, such a powerful person would suddenly appear? Chen Zhao didn't have anything to say to the spirit of cursing. His goal this time was the spirit of cursing. Sir, Chen Zhao looked at the spirit of cursing. Can I ask you to die? What? Chapter 2034. The spirit of cursing was dumbfounded by Chen Zhao's group attack. However, he quickly reacted. Chen Zhao's thousands of flying swords had destroyed tens of thousands of its skulls, but they hadn't really hurt its core. At least, the spirit of cursing felt that it could still fight. Of course, now wasn't the time to fight Qin Zhao. After all, Qin Zhao still had Terry Boyle, who was on par with it. The spirit of cursing immediately broke into pieces. Nearly 1,000,000 skulls flew out of the lair. However, one of Qin Zhao's clones was blocking the entrance of the lair, not giving the spirit of cursing a chance to escape at all. Seeing one of the skulls flying over, the clone fired a holy light cannon at it. All the skulls within 100 meters would be vaporized. West and the others were completely speechless. When they saw Qin Zhao appear, they'd completely given up on fighting. There was no point in fighting anymore. Even the mentality of the association members had changed. Even he himself felt the same way. Everyone thought that there was no point in fighting anymore. Qin Zhao was like a stabilizing force. Seeing that the entrance was blocked, the spirit of cursing panicked. Even a clone wasn't something it could break through. In fact, even a clone of Qin Zhao's was close in strength to the main body. Who are you? Why are you interfering with my feud with Terry Boyle? The spirit of cursing roared furiously. It's none of your business. The spirit of cursing was furious. You're going to kill me, and you're saying it's none of my business. In fact, Qin Zhao had 100 or even 1,000 reasons to kill it. Did Qin Zhao need a reason to kill an unnatural creature that wanted to destroy the world and all humans? No. Qin Zhao didn't even bother to explain. Whether it was for business or personal reasons, Qin Zhao had a reason to kill it. By then, Qin Zhao's main body had already stopped fighting. He came to West and the others. He casually threw Marlin on the ground. Guild leader, why are you here? Qin Zhao took out Ascamore's head. If I didn't come, you would have died here. I heard that there's a demon even scarier than the spirit of cursed in the depths of this nest. The spirit of cursed's true goal is to release that demon. The magic that you release in battle will become the power to unlock the seal. Ascamore had already been killed by Qin Zhao anyway. No one would explain anything. The members of the supernatural organization looked at each other in shock. Didn't you ask around before carrying out such an important operation? Qin Zhao refused to admit that he'd interfered with West's plan. Instead, he pushed the blame to West and the others. Gaia narrowed his eyes at Qin Zhao. Chen, if there's really such danger here, you wouldn't have kept it a secret from us. With your personality, you'd probably have stopped us halfway. Gaia looked at Qin Zhao seriously. I'm afraid you came here and suddenly discovered that there's a demon hidden underground. You used this as an excuse to cover up the fact that you interfered with our operation. Gaia, we're close, but you can't slander me like this. Now, everyone looked at Qin Zhao suspiciously. One had to admit that Gaia's suspicions hit the nail on the head. I'm just being reasonable. Can't I be suspicious? Your suspicions are baseless. Damn, that spirit of cursed is stronger than I thought. Looks like we can't talk anymore. I'll go finish him off first. The spirit of cursed was stronger than they'd imagined. Everyone looked at the spirit of cursed that had been beaten into pieces by Qin Zhao's clone. Did the spirit of cursed have any spectacular performances? It seemed like Qin Zhao was bullying the spirit of cursed one-sidedly. Moreover, Qin Zhao's main body was still talking to them. This was stronger than they'd imagined. One had to admit that Qin Zhao's way of changing the topic was rather refreshing. What's going on? West, who's that? Terry Boyle rushed over at this time. That's our boss. Pointing at Qin Zhao, West said, as for the specifics, it's best to ask Marlin. We're not sure either. Terry Boyle looked at Marlin. Marlin thought for a while and said, it's like this, you're saying that there's a demon under this nest and the spirit of cursed was created by this demon. And it was killed by that person. Yes, that man's temper isn't very good. Because West and the others were present, Marlin was very tactful with his words. What do you mean by temper? He's just a bad person, West said. And he's filled with all sorts of bad interests. Indecent. Cruel. Marlin was speechless. They were indeed saying what Marlin was thinking. However, he couldn't say that. After all, they were on Chen Zhao's side. Chen Zhao's abilities had been proven time and time again. Is that your president? He's indeed very strong. Terry Boyle had only been slapped once by Chen Zhao, but it was a heavy slap. Then, he looked at the spirit of Cursed, who could only fight back and forth with him. Before Chen Zhao, he was as pitiful as a child. When Chen Zhao shattered the last skull, the spirit of Cursed true form was finally revealed. It was an enormous spiritual body. It wasn't weak, but that was only when compared to ordinary spiritual bodies. If it was any one of the people present, they would be able to deal with it easily. Right now, the spirit of Cursed was like a girl who'd been stripped naked. He was facing a pack of tigers and wolves. Chen Zhao put away his avatar and used dark lava to wrap around the spirit of Cursed body. Then, he used a soul container to stuff the spirit of Cursed body into it. President, is that why you're here? West asked, looking at Chen Zhao. I'm here to protect you guys. It's just a convenience. Just treat it as a reward. I'm leaving. Have fun on the African plains. With that, Chen Zhao prepared to leave. Mr. Chen, please wait, Terry Boyle called out. What? You want to get beaten up? Mr. Chen, don't tell me you've forgotten what we talked about last time. We had a good time. But the first time we met, you attacked me. You said it's our first time meeting. We don't even know each other. Chapter 2035. Chen Zhao didn't have any bad feelings toward Terry. In Chen Zhao's opinion, everything Terry Boyle had done was within his scope of responsibility. Mr. Chen, how about we talk? To be honest, Terry had heard too much about Chen Zhao from West and the members of the supernatural organization. Before they met, Terry Boyd had his own imagination. Of course, Terry didn't just want a simple chat. He wanted to talk to Chen Zhao alone. Chen Zhao thought about it and agreed to Terry Boyle's request. Mr. Chen, you're almost at the level of an unparalleled master now. Chen Zhao didn't feel much about Terry's compliment. Chen Zhao didn't have too many illusions about his own power now. The more powerful he was, the more insignificant he felt. Chen Zhao knew a few powerful and unreasonable existences. There were still many things in this world that Chen Zhao couldn't understand or recognize. Moreover, Terry was definitely up to no good since he was complimenting him like this. Mr. Chen, just say it. Mr. Chen, do you want to become stronger? Chen Zhao looked at Terry Boyle and sized him up seriously. Terry Boyle felt very uncomfortable under Chen Zhao's gaze. You? There was indeed some disdain in Chen Zhao's tone. Terry's tone was too similar to the demons and ancient gods Chen Zhao had met in the past. Do you desire power? Do you want to become stronger? Only villains would say such things. Hearing Chen Zhao's reply, Terry felt very stifled. He also felt that his tone was a bit strange. Mr. Chen, of course it's not me, but it's also related to me, Terry said. Mr. Chen, as the guardian of this grassland, I can borrow the power of the entire grassland. I'm almost undefeatable here. Oh. Chen Zhao thought for a moment and decided not to expose Terry in front of him. Terry Boyle suddenly remembered the fact that he had been sent flying by Chen Zhao in a single exchange. Of course, I can't withstand the power of the entire grassland. I can probably withstand about 5 times the power of my main body. Terry Boyle said, but you're different, Mr. Chen. You have a strong body and amazing strength. You can withstand 10 or 20 times your normal strength. Oh, are you going to give me the power of the Great Prairie? Of course, as long as Mr. Chen is willing to accept. What are the conditions? Become nature's guardian. Goodbye. Chen Zhao never had any extravagant hopes that he could obtain external power for no reason. No matter what, strength was good for him. And to become a nature guardian, one had to shoulder the responsibility of a nature guardian. Wait. Don't go. Let's talk. Mr. Chen, you still don't know the benefits of being a nature's guardian. What benefits? As long as you are a nature's guardian, even if you die, you will be revived. That's immortality. Chen Zhao looked at Terry Boyle in surprise. It's an exaggeration to call it immortality. This grassland needs a nature's guardian, so even if you're vaporized into atoms, your body will be reconstructed and your consciousness will be restored. This is already immortality, right? Chen Zhao exclaimed. Even Chen Zhao couldn't revive after being vaporized into atoms. Of course, the revival time is a bit long. How long? About 100 years. 100 years. I don't even know if I can live that long. Do you have some misunderstanding about human lifespans? I said that as long as you are a nature's guardian, you're immortal. Lifespan won't be an obstacle. Terry Boyle looked at Chen Zhao. Think about it. As a human, you're extremely powerful, even stronger than dragons, but your pitiful lifespan is probably only 200 years old. As a nature's guardian, your lifespan will stop being consumed. After you complete your duty, you'll have the right to take away all the power you can. 10 times, 20 times, 30 times. At that time, you'll be truly invincible. Everything in the world will tremble under your feet. Chen Zhao tilted his head and looked at Terry Boyle. Your tone is exactly the same as the demon I just killed. But I'm telling the truth. I'm not lying at all. You're telling the truth, but you're hiding important information, Chen Zhao said. You only told me the benefits of being a nature's guardian, but you didn't tell me what I have to pay or what my duty is. Of course, it's to protect this grassland. If there's trouble, you'll have to help. It's that simple. For you, even if the spirit beasts, the undead elementals, and Gu Yida's army cause trouble at the same time, you can easily suppress them. This duty shouldn't be too easy for you. What else? Chen Zhao smiled at Terry Boyle. Terry purposely said it casually, but he was still hiding important information. There are some small rules that aren't too important. What small rules? Terry pursed his lips. For example, during your duty, you can't leave the grassland. Indeed, there were so many benefits, but he also had to pay a huge price. When Chen Zhao heard this request, he immediately lost interest. Goodbye. Chen Zhao waved and turned to leave. Terry hurriedly pulled Chen Zhao back. Let's discuss more. There's no need. Why don't you recommend one to me? Terry Boyle said. Chen Zhao stopped and turned to look at Terry Boyle. That's what you thought from the beginning, right? You never thought I'd accept this duty. Of course you're my first choice, but I know the possibility isn't high, Terry said honestly. Terry Boyle said frankly, you must know many powerful beings, human or other creatures, as long as they are powerful enough and willing to accept this responsibility. Can you help me find one? What's in it? Chen Zhao asked. I can give you a blessing. A blessing that you won't be affected by poison at all. I have a special demon bloodline. My poison resistance isn't any weaker than yours. What do you want? Your blessing is good. My family needs it. No problem. I'm not sure when I can help you find one, but you have to bless my family first. Chapter 2036. To put it bluntly, Chen Zhao was just making empty promises. He had to get the benefits first. As for when he could do it and if he could do it, Chen Zhao wouldn't give any promises. Terry looked at Chen Zhao helplessly. Your request is a bit too much. Fine, Chen Zhao said. Then let's forget about it. Chen Zhao wasn't in a hurry. He wouldn't lose anything anyway. Wait, I didn't say I wouldn't agree, Terry said, frustrated. How powerful does the nature guardian have to be? An adult dragon is the minimum requirement. Like you. I'm not a normal dragon. Since you're a dragon, can't you find one from your tribe? Please spare me. I know better than anyone else what kind of behavior most of the dragons in my own clan are. I'll let you know if there's news, Chen Zhao said. Oh, when will you deliver my family's blessings? Bring your family over, of course. I can't leave the plains. Fine, we'll talk when I'm free. Chen Zhao thought about it. He wasn't in a hurry. After discussing with Terry Boyle, Chen Zhao returned to the crowd. West, when do you plan on going back? We'll leave after taking the benefits, West said. Be more ruthless, Chen Zhao whispered. If he doesn't give enough, I'll ask for more for you later. There wasn't much for Chen Zhao to do here anyway. Chen Zhao left Africa directly. Chen Zhao stayed in Africa until 3 in the morning. It was only 7 or 8 in the evening in America. 7 or 8 hours wasn't a big difference. After returning home, Chen Zhao took a shower first. He smelled really bad. After all, those cultists didn't care about personal hygiene. Furthermore, they all liked to conduct research and experiments that made people nauseous. Chen Zhao suddenly remembered that the deathly poison man was still in the nest. He'd almost forgotten about him. But Chen Zhao couldn't be bothered with him. He could only wish him good luck. Chen Zhao called the witch he'd talked to last time. Miss Witch, can we talk? Mr. Chen, I don't think we have anything to talk about. Buddha's reply was very cold. I've already made my request. If you fulfill it, I'll help you navigate. I have a disaster-grade evil spirit soul, Chen Zhao said. It's a relatively complete soul. The Buddhist monk jumped up. What? Are you serious? Of course, Chen Zhao said. It's a cursed spirit from Africa. Are you telling the truth? Of course, if you don't believe me, you can check it yourself. Then let's arrange a place to meet. Sure, you decide the time and place. Right now, in Yellow Flower Creek Park. Chen Zhao narrowed his eyes. It seemed that the witch was very eager. Sure. Chen Zhao hung up and went to Yellow Flower Creek Park. The Buddhists arrived at Yellow Flower Creek Park earlier than Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao saw many Buddhists from afar and walked up to her. I am Buddha, witch, Buddha said. You must be Mr. Chen. Chen Zhao took out the soul container. It looked like it was only a few 100 milliliters, but it contained an indescribably horrifying thing. Moreover, the ominous and unclean aura of the cursed spirit was still seeping out of the soul container. This is what you want. Chen Zhao tossed the soul container to the Buddhist monk. Not bad, but you still need demon gold, gray eye, and $10 million. After confirming, the Buddhist monk confirmed that there was a disaster-grade spirit inside. She didn't know if it was the cursed spirit. However, to her, it was fine as long as it was a disaster-grade spirit. As for its origin, she didn't care. I don't think I need to pay more, Chen Zhao said. The Buddhist monk looked at Chen Zhao. What do you mean? My meaning is clear. Either you take the soul container and we come to an agreement, or you cancel the deal and return the soul container to me. Chen Zhao smiled at her. The Buddhist monk clearly wasn't willing to hand over the soul container. It was too important to her. This was the reason why Chen Zhao had given the soul container to so many Buddhists. The way she thought about it was different when she got it and when she didn't. The Buddhist monk knew how difficult it was to obtain a disaster-grade spirit. It might even be an impossible mission. If she could get a disaster-grade spirit, it would greatly reduce the difficulty of her and her sister's plan. The Buddhist monk's eyes flickered. She was considering if she should use violence to take the soul container. You can't beat me. Chen Zhao seemed to have seen through the Buddhist's thoughts. A glint flashed across the Buddhist monk's eyes. How do you know if you don't try? Of course I don't mind, Chen Zhao said indifferently. But you better think about the consequences. If you can't beat me, you won't get anything. I'll also use crueler methods to force you to work for me. The Buddhist monk tightened her grip on the soul container. If you dare to force me, I'll break the container. The Buddhist monk didn't know how Chen Zhao had gotten this disaster-grade spirit. But she felt that it definitely wasn't easy for Chen Zhao either. He definitely couldn't succeed alone. So, if she used the soul container to threaten the other, she might succeed. Give me back what's mine and I'll pretend this never happened, Chen Zhao said calmly. Impossible. I said that if you don't meet my requirements, don't think I'll be your navigator. In that case, the deal is over. I don't need you to be the navigator. I believe I can find a replacement. The Buddhist monk was furious that Chen Zhao went back on his words. In reality, Chen Zhao had never promised her anything. But this calamity-level spirit body was too important to her and her plan. She definitely wouldn't give up on it. But she didn't have many choices. It was very unlikely that she could successfully take the soul container away. First of all, she couldn't accept the man's ridiculous request. But if she fought with Chen Zhao, she didn't think she had any chance of winning either. Her battle talent was too weak. Now, she regretted not bringing her sister along. If Isindua was here, they might be able to obtain this disaster-grade spirit without paying any price. Chapter 2037. The Buddhist looked at Chen Zhao warily. Chen Zhao kept his hands in his pockets. They really weren't worth Chen Zhao's effort. No matter how you looked at it, they couldn't even meet Chen Zhao's standards as an enemy. Plus, she wasn't completely irreplaceable. If the Buddhist's request matched her price, Chen Zhao wouldn't mind working with her. But to Chen Zhao, the Buddhist's demands were too much. There weren't many requests in the world that couldn't stop Chen Zhao. The Buddhist's requests had already exceeded his expectations. Chen Zhao didn't think that her price was worth it. He felt that a disaster-level spirit was a suitable price. The Buddhist rolled her eyes and said, I can't decide this alone. I want to discuss it with my sister and then give you an answer. Leave the thing behind and we can discuss it however you want, Chen Zhao said calmly. The Buddhist clearly didn't want to leave the soul container behind. Chen Zhao shook his head. So troublesome. Chen Zhao walked toward the Buddhist. The Buddhist immediately yelled, Don't come over. If you do, I'll smash the soul container. The spirit of vengeance is in a weakened state. To me, you've only destroyed a soul container. I'll just replace it with another one. But you'll definitely die here. Since you've rejected the deal, it means nothing to me whether you die or not. The Buddhist's expression grew even worse. She didn't know if Chen Zhao could really suppress the spirit of the cursed by himself. But if she really smashed the soul container, she would definitely die. The spirit of the cursed would kill her without Chen Zhao even having to do anything. Suddenly, Chen Zhao's figure flashed and he disappeared from the spot. Oh no! The Buddhist cursed inwardly. She didn't know what to think, but she just smashed the soul container onto the ground. Just then, Chen Zhao had already grabbed Buddha's wrist and snatched the soul container. With a backhand slap, he sent the Buddhist cultivator flying. Our deal is over. Goodbye. Chen Zhao didn't want to work with the Buddhist anymore. This was a woman who didn't know her limits and wanted a yard after being given an inch. This kind of woman was definitely not a good partner to work with. In comparison, Chen Zhao was more willing to work with someone like Gurette. Although Gurette was a pirate, he knew his limits. Chen Zhao and Gurette had a great time working together. Both sides had gained quite a lot. Chen Zhao's initial capital accumulation was even shared with Gurette's. The Buddhist stood up with great difficulty. Chen Zhao's blow was neither light nor heavy, but it hurt a lot. Although she was indignant, there was nothing she could do. When he got home, he saw Asindor in the living room. There are many Buddhists. What's wrong with you? Who did it? Asindor stood up immediately. There is a person who has a calamity-grade spirit body. The Buddhist said. Are you serious? Asindor's eyes were filled with surprise. I've confirmed it. Buddha Duo said. Why would he have it? I don't know. Originally, I wanted to get that calamity-grade spirit body and then leave this place, but that person is very cautious. Maybe he noticed my goal. Your injury was caused by him. That's right, he did it. Perfect. Asindor said with a gloomy face. He's very strong, the Buddhist said. So what? If we work together, no one can beat us, Asindor said. The Buddhist thought about it and realized that it was true. She wasn't good at fighting, but her other ability was invincible. Where does he live? Let's go find him now. I don't know, but someone knows, the Buddhist said. Who? That dark elf, Lila Gavich. I heard that the white elves have been looking for him. He's a coward now. Although he's hiding very well, I can still find him. In the past few days, Lila Gavich had been living like a primitive man. He'd used up all the resources he'd prepared. He even had to use leaves to relieve himself. In modern society, the elves were already used to the technological lifestyle, just like humans, the elves were already used to it. But this wasn't the most painful thing for him. The most painful thing was that he didn't know when it started, but that uneasy feeling had gotten stronger and stronger. And today, that feeling of unease had finally reached its peak. Lila Gavich felt that something was definitely going to happen tonight. Was nature's test finally coming? But why was the uneasy feeling so strong? Did something happen to Chen Zhao? After thinking for a long time, Lila Gavich finally decided to call Chen Zhao. Hello, Chen. It's me, Lila Gavich. Ha! You changed your number again. Chen, I feel like something's going to happen tonight. It makes me very uneasy. You mean nature's test is about to begin? It should be tonight. But didn't you say it'll take about a month? It seems to be less than half a month now, I don't know. I think it's the White Elves doing. I don't know what's going on. That means you need my help tonight. Yes, Lila Gavich said solemnly. Got it. I'll go now. Give me your address. I don't have an address. I'm hiding in the forest now. I've been living like a primitive man for half a month. Okay, give me the exact location. After receiving Lila Gavich's address, Chen Zhao set off immediately. When he arrived, he realized that Lila Gavich didn't look too good. It wasn't because of his living environment but his mental state. In Chen Zhao's impression, this fatty had always been the model of a big-hearted and fat person. Very few things could make him so uneasy. Gavich, your mental state is very bad. I can't sleep for many days, Lila Gavich said. Are you sure it'll start tonight? I'm sure that something will happen tonight. Chen, you'll help me, right? Lila Gavich's eyes were even pleading. I said that I'll fulfill my promise. I'll help you. Chapter 2038. Chen Zhao didn't know how to comfort Lila. He just sat beside him. However, Lila couldn't calm down at all. He kept mumbling something. At that moment footsteps were heard outside the cave where Lila Gavich was staying. Chen Zhao turned his head to look at Lila. Someone came in. Do you know them? Lila looked at Chen Zhao in surprise. No, I didn't tell anyone apart from you. Ha! One of them looks familiar. Chen Zhao already realized that one of them was Buddha, whom he'd just taught a lesson to not long ago. The other was similar to Buddha, but also different. It felt like they were twins. When Buddha and Azindor appeared before Chen Zhao and Lila, Chen Zhao realized that they really were twins. Buddha. Azindor, why are you here? What are you doing here? Lila looked at Buddha in surprise. What are you doing here? Lila Gavich looked at the Buddhists in surprise. He and Azindor had come here to find Lila and ask about Chen Zhao's whereabouts. She and Isindor had come here to ask Lila Gavich about Chen Zhao's whereabouts. Azindor, it's him. Azindor looked at Chen Zhao. Hand over the spirit of cursed soul container. Azido looked at Chen Zhao. Hand over the cursed spirit soul container. Chen Zhao looked at Lila Gage. They're your friends. His parents and Azindor were here to cause trouble again. His parents and Azindor were here to cause trouble again. That's enough. Buddha, Azindor, if you don't want to die, scram. Lila, what right do you have to order us? Who do you think you are to us? Azindor said arrogantly. Suddenly, Lila clutched his chest. An indescribable pain surged up his heart. He almost lost his balance. His body swayed and he staggered 2 steps. Gavich, are you okay? Chen Zhao helped him up. I feel, it's coming. That uncomfortable feeling is really coming. Suddenly, a black liquid started appearing under Lila's feet. The black liquid started spreading in all directions. It also reached Chen Zhao's feet, and then Buddha and Isindor's feet. Chen Zhao lifted his foot. The black liquid seemed to be very sticky. Even Chen Zhao felt a strong pull. Gage, what's going on? Chen Zhao asked. Lila Gavich was equally confused. I don't know. What's going on? There are no records of such a situation in the ancient books of our race. Damn it, Lila Gavich, what the hell are you doing? Cinder, I can't move. Me too, Isindor said. The black liquid was very sticky. Apart from Chen Zhao, no one else could move at all. However, even Chen Zhao could feel how sticky it was. But at that moment, the black liquid began to take human form. Both Chen Zhao and Lila Gavich realized that the figure formed by the black liquid was Mislan Prior. Meslin, did you do this? Lila Gavich roared furiously. He should have known that other than Mycelon Pulu, no one would scheme against him like this. But he didn't know what Mycelon had done. Tilting his head, Mycelon looked at Lila Gavich. A strange smile appeared on his completely black face. I want you to go to hell with me. Just then, Mycelon Pules stood up from the black liquid one after another. Even Chen Zhao and Lila Gavich couldn't tell which one was the real one. All of my Ceylon's black clones pounced at Lila Gavich, Chen Zhao, Fromentin, and Cinder. Chen Zhao attacked the black clones with all his might, but they were defenseless. Chen Zhao shattered them with one attack, but the others weren't as lucky. Lila Gavich was surrounded by the most black clones. The black clones' attack method was simple. They pounced on Lila Gavich. Chen! Save me! Lila Gavich yelled. Chen Zhao used all his strength and charged to Lila Gavich's side, grabbing him. But Lila Gavich was almost swallowed by the black clones. Ah! Just then, Lila Gavich let out a pained cry. Let go, my body is going to be pulled apart. Lila Gavich's cries were extremely miserable. Chen Zhao's expression changed slightly. Lila Gavich was really in pain. The black clones seemed to want to sink him into the darkness. Chen Zhao could only let go. If he didn't, Lila Gavich would really be pulled in half. Chen Zhao wanted to protect Lila Gavich, not kill him. Just then, a huge pit several meters in diameter appeared in the ground. Black liquid flowed into the pit continuously. Chen Zhao's expression changed. The pit released an intense hell aura. Did this pit lead to hell? Chen Zhao's expression kept changing. He had promised Lila Gavich that he would protect him. Unexpectedly, Lila Gavich still couldn't escape his fate. Chen Zhao took out his phone. Handsome, summon me to hell. Thanks. Soon, Chen Zhao was summoned to hell. Chen Zhao, why are you in such a hurry this time? What's up? I promised a friend to protect him, Chen Zhao said. But he was pulled into hell. You mean forcefully pulling his body and soul into hell? Yes. That's impossible. But it happened right in front of me. Tell me the details. My friend is an elf. He was undergoing the test of an elf envoy. Suddenly, a large amount of black liquid appeared. Not only did the black liquid drag him into hell, but I was also attacked. 2 women were dragged into hell with me. The handsome guy immediately understood. He wasn't pulled into hell. He was sent there by the laws. What do you mean? I don't understand. His test is hell's test. Hell's test? Yes, he'll be punished by hell. Can you help me find him? I can help you find him, but I can't do anything. Even if I do, I'll only attack your friend. Why? Because I'm a part of hell. Not doing anything is the greatest help I can give you. The other demon kings won't do anything, right? Chen Zhao asked. How strong is your friend? Around the level of a low-level demon, maybe even weaker. Then the demon attacking him won't be stronger than a mid-level demon. Chapter 2039. That's good. Hearing that it was only a mid-level demon, Chen Zhao was relieved. Can you find it? Yes, but I need some time, the handsome guy said. Will it take a long time? 1 minute. Is that long? 1 minute was indeed not long, but Chen Zhao was wondering if Lila Gavich could last 1 minute. At the same time, in a corner of hell, the place was covered in ice. As far as the eye could see, it was a boundless white world. Lila Gavich, Frodo, and Azindo all stared at the unfamiliar world before them in confusion. Was this the South Pole? Why were they here? But when they saw the red moon in the sky, they felt a chill down their spines. It was daytime, but the red moon was frightening. There was also a heavy smell in the air. It wasn't natural air. It was like the sulfur-smelling air that came out of a volcano. An inexplicable fear rose in their hearts. They were all afraid. Afraid that their uneasiness and fear would come true. Just then, dark clouds approached them from the sky. The three of them raised their heads and looked at the dark clouds. "What's that?" The three stared at the cloud. It didn't seem normal and was spreading toward them. The speed at which the dark cloud moved was simply too fast. It was so fast that it made one's hair stand on end. Finally, the cloud was 1,000 meters away from them. At this time, they finally saw clearly what it was. It wasn't a cloud at all. Instead, it was countless deformed creatures. It was a local product of hell, bee demons. They weren't demonic beasts, but pure demons. However, they had a similar social structure to bees. They also had powerful reproductive abilities and swarms, which was why they were called bee demons. This is hell, right? Buddhist duo finally voiced out the deepest fear in their hearts. This wasn't the human world or earth. This was hell. The legendary hell. How many bee demons were there? 100,000. 1,000,000. Maybe even more. There was no communication or hesitation. Both sides knew what to do in an instant. Kill them. Frodo. Give me magic. Azinduo screamed, and the Buddhists immediately cast magic on her. Violent power. Heart of the beast. Nimble wind. Water blessing. Violent fire. Earth entrenchment. The Buddhists threw a lot of support spells at Azindor as if they were free. Many Buddhists practiced a special school of magic called astral magic. The characteristic of astral cluster magic was that it had a large number of spells, but its weakness was also relatively obvious. All the spells were support spells, and they were all single-target support spells. Moreover, the requirements for the caster of Stellaris were very high. Due to the large quantity, the casting speed was also very strict. If others cast one spell, the user of Stellaris must be able to cast 5 spells in the same time. The target was also under great pressure because the astral cluster spell could be stacked infinitely. For example, the spellcaster could cast the same spell 10 or 20 times on the target. In other words, the target could infinitely increase their strength. But this kind of support magic was like a heavy burden, and the requirements for the caster were also very high. Therefore, the best target for casting the spell was an enhancer-type spiritualist. Coincidentally, Azindor was an enhancer-type spiritualist. Even more coincidentally, Azindor and the Buddhists were twins, identical twins at that. Their magic came from the same source, so Azindor had a very strong tolerance for Buddhist magic. The Buddhists cast support spells on her, so Azindor had to bear much less pressure. It was because of these perfect conditions that when the two of them were together, their strength would increase exponentially. Azindor had now become a superwoman, so powerful that it made people's hair stand on end. Dozens of horned demons were instantly killed by Azindor. On the other hand, Jacinda appeared to be very relaxed. However, dozens of horned demons were like a drop in the ocean to the entire army. There were too many. There were just too many horned demons. Azindor had already endured the effects of dozens of astral cluster spells. This gave her strength and speed an overall increase. Not only that, she was as agile as the wind, as violent as fire, as defensive as the earth, and as gentle as water. Azindor killed hundreds of horned demons. Suddenly, a huge devil appeared in the midst of the horned demon army. This devil was at least 8 to 9 meters tall. It looked like a normal horned demon, but it was much stronger. This was the drone of the horned demons. Their main duty was to mate. Of course, they were also the guards of the Queen Hornet. Azindor was caught off guard and was punched by the drone, causing her to fall onto the ice. The attack was so powerful that even Azindor couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Azindor jumped up again and dealt a heavy blow to the drone. Azindor's fist pierced through the drone's chest, and at the same time, took off its head. Azindor held the drone's head and roared loudly. She wanted to scare off the endless hornet swarm. Just then, countless drones appeared in the hornet swarm. Even though the number of drones was far less than the normal hornet soldiers, the hornet swarm was too big. Therefore, the number of drones was still very shocking. Azindor's actions didn't scare off the hornet demon army, instead, it enraged the drones. From their point of view, Azindor's actions were provoking them. Azindor's expression was unnatural. Fodor and Lila Gavich's faces were even paler. It's over. It's all over. Although Isindua was confident in herself, she was not arrogant enough to think that she could repel all these demons by herself. At this moment, an even more despairing scene unfolded before them. In front of the ice field, another black mass appeared. If the previous ones were a swarm of bees, this one was a swarm of ants. Compared to Feng Yun, the swarm of ants was much larger. It was a despairing number. But what was more despairing was the fact that there were also different kinds of devils appearing on their left, right, and rear. The number of each type of devil was despairing. The three's expression changed from shock to fear, then from fear to despair. And within this terrifying army, there were even more terrifying existences. Isinduo could sense that some of the demons were individually strong enough to kill her. Chapter 2040. The handsome guy brought Qin Zhao to the sky above the tundra. Even though Qin Zhao was tens of thousands of meters in the air, he still couldn't see the end of the tundra. Nevertheless, Qin Zhao could still see the mass of people below. Could this be my friend's test? He attracted all the low-level and mid-level demons in the tundra, the handsome guy said. Any one of these demons could probably kill him. It has nothing to do with numbers. If there's not a single qualified demon at the place he appears, he passes. But if he appears in this area, all the qualified demons will respond. My friend isn't dead, is he? No, he's still alive, the handsome guy said. At the same time, he glanced at Qin Zhao. Do you need me to send you? No, I can do it myself, it's fine. Let me send you. With that, the handsome guy didn't even give Qin Zhao a chance to refuse. With a light tap of his finger, Qin Zhao felt an enormous force push him down. Qin Zhao lost control of his body and fell down like a meteor. This speed was much faster than free fall or his own dive. Moreover, falling at this speed wouldn't hurt Qin Zhao more. It was like punching a wall. If it was a medium speed, the fist would hurt the most. But if it was a slow or fast speed, it wouldn't hurt at all. The handsome guy said he couldn't do anything. However, he still helped Qin Zhao in whatever way he could. At the moment, Lila Gavich, Frodo, and Asindel were all in despair. It was simply impossible for them to defeat this overwhelming army of demons. Just then, they saw a golden light fall from the sky. What's that? It can't be anything good, Frodo said. So what if it's bad? It doesn't make any difference to us, Lila Gavich said dejectedly. That thing seems to be falling toward us. Looking closely, Lila Gavich couldn't help but shudder. That thing was really falling toward them. Was that a meteor? But were there golden meteors? Or were all the meteors in hell golden? The falling speed of the meteor was simply too fast. They didn't even have time to react. The meteor was about to hit them. Suddenly, the angle of the meteor's descent changed, and it suddenly plunged downward. Rumble, the golden meteor smashed into the demon army. A golden shockwave swept out in all directions. Almost all the demons within a kilometer radius were vaporized. Lila Gavik, Formidor and Asendel looked at the scene before them in disbelief. The demons were vaporized right in front of them. If that golden meteor had moved forward a little more, then they would be vaporized just like these devils. Smoke filled the empty area of impact. Nothing could be seen, only the wreckage on the ground. However, most of the body parts of these remains had already been vaporized by the impact. At this moment, the three of them saw a figure walking out from the smoke. Lila Gavik's pupils dilated when he saw the figure. As the figure drew closer, Lila Gavik's breathing quickened. Chin. Lila Gage finally saw who it was. Qin Zhao. Why is it Qin Zhao? Why was Qin Zhao here? Disbelief was written all over Lila's face. Formidor and Asendel all had different expressions. They were also surprised that Qin Zhao was here. Gavik, I told you that I'll protect you. Qin Zhao walked up to Lila Gavik. Other than my family, I've never been so determined to protect someone. Shouldn't you feel honored? Lila Gage still stared at Qin Zhao in shock. Qin. This is hell. How did you get here? I have my ways, Qin Zhao said. Don't ask me how I got here. Lila Gavik was completely speechless. He was touched by Qin Zhao's promise and what he'd done, but Qin Zhao didn't care. However, he'd never heard of someone going to hell for a promise. Chen, you don't have to do this. Lila Gavik looked around at the uncountable army of demons. It was a hopeless number. I also want to see where my limit is. Qin Zhao stretched his limbs. In the eyes of the other three, Qin Zhao was a madman. An out-and-out lunatic. Here. But it was hell. Qin Zhao's fighting spirit soared. Moreover, the boundless devil army would not retreat just because of one more person. The demon army immediately surrounded the four of them. Qin Zhao stomped on the ice under his feet. The 10-meter-wide ice was pushed up by his huge force. Then, Qin Zhao slapped the side of the ice block and it flew out. Whoosh, the ice swept over 1,000 meters. All the demon circles along the way were empty. Lila Gavik, Fodor, and Cinder all stared at Qin Zhao with wide eyes. Especially Asendel and Formidor. Previously, they had wanted to fight Qin Zhao and steal something from him. But now, they suddenly realized that their thoughts were laughable. Even if Asendel had received all of Formidor's support spells, she couldn't beat this monster. But Qin Zhao's attack aroused the demon army's fighting spirit. Countless demons pounced at Qin Zhao. Blood and flesh flew everywhere. The battlefield was a huge meat grinder. Most terrifyingly, the battle was changing the terrain. Just then, Qin Zhao was suddenly hit from behind. Qin Zhao turned his head and looked at the demon attacking him. Are you a subordinate of the King of Power? No, human. Human, although I don't have any subordinates, a lowly human like you should have some respect for me. Respect my ass. Qin Zhao punched the demon's head. Qin Zhao had never been so at ease before. He had never fought so recklessly. He'd never felt so carefree. Fighting in the human world wasn't very free or carefree. There were simply too many issues to consider. But this was hell. Qin Zhao didn't need to think about what kind of damage or casualties he'd cause. Qin Zhao could squander his power without restraint. Momentum of the world. Qin Zhao's momentum turned into a huge palm and fell from the sky. Tens of thousands of demons were smashed. All his cells were activated and his nerves relaxed to the extreme. Chapter 2041. Are you a subordinate of the King of Power? Qin Zhao smashed another demon's head before the demon started talking trash. However, Chen Zhao still met 4 or 5 subordinates of the King of Power among so many demons. Chen Zhao didn't feel tired at all despite fighting for a long time. Instead, he became more and more energetic. All his cells became extremely active. The handsome guy in the sky watched the battle. His attention was always on Chen Zhao. He knew Chen Zhao's body condition like the back of his hand. Of course, he also knew Chen Zhao's changes. Chen Zhao, you should open up more and let your power completely merge with your bloodline. This is the bloodline power that demons above the Great Lord level have. The handsome guy's voice suddenly rang in Chen Zhao's ears. Chen Zhao had been focusing most of his attention on the battle, but the guy's sudden voice still lifted Chen Zhao's spirits. Merge power into my bloodline. Bloodline power. Suddenly, the clouds in the sky gathered into a huge woman's figure. Belia had come. She realized that Chen Zhao had actually appeared in hell. She hadn't realized it until now. Belia looked at the handsome guy in the sky and then down at Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao, why didn't you tell me you were coming? That damned guy covered your aura, Belia said to Chen Zhao, displeased. Belia, I'm busy now. Let's talk later. Belia, how can you sense Chen Zhao? The handsome guy asked, confused. The handsome guy was confident that no demon should be able to sense Chen Zhao's aura if he covered it. Even if it was Belia, one of Hell's demon kings. Because I can sense it, Belia said proudly. After all, she was very proud to be able to sense Chen Zhao's arrival through the handsome guy, the ruler of Hell. Chen Zhao, are you looking for the King of Power's subordinates? I'll mark them for you. Chen Zhao didn't know how Belia would mark them, but he soon realized that some demons were different. A small dark cloud shrouded the fiends' heads. The demons were also confused. They didn't understand what was happening. He waved his hand to disperse the dark clouds, but they quickly gathered again. Chen Zhao, if your power can't fuse with your bloodline, you'll never understand the power of a great lord. Belia said something similar to the handsome guy. Although their expressions were different, they were all pointing to the same answer. All of your power exists in your body, but only your bloodline and soul are your original structure. Your bloodline and soul construct your past, present, and future. So if you want your power to last forever, you need to integrate it into your bloodline and soul. However, you don't walk the path of the soul system, so you only need to integrate your power into your bloodline. Chen Zhao frowned. He was attacked by another demon. Although the demon's attack did not harm him at all. But Chen Zhao still felt irritated. The 2 demon kings of hell guided Chen Zhao. But they only told him the path he was going to take, but they didn't tell him how to get there. Fuse with the bloodline. How was it supposed to fuse with the bloodline? Chen Zhao, you're dumber than I thought. I agree with that. We've already explained it so clearly. Why don't you understand? Chen Zhao felt stifled. Was he stupid? It was like an extremely complicated mathematical formula. They gave him the answer, but not the process of solving it. Then Chen Zhao had to calculate the process himself. But this was cultivation. Sometimes, you just needed a flash of inspiration. Clearly, Chen Zhao hadn't had it yet. Chen Zhao had squeezed out another subordinate of the King of Power. 23. It was still a long way. Luckily, there were too many demons here. The number of subordinates of the King of Power was very low in the entire demon army. It was even 1 in 100,000. But even with such a large number, there were still 100 or 200 demons who were subordinates of the King of Power. You've collected the blood of so many subordinates of the King of Power. You can feel the power contained in the blood. Chen Zhao looked at the bloodstain on his hand. It was the blood of a subordinate he'd just killed. Feel the power contained in it. You used the blood of 100 subordinates of the King of Power to obtain more power, but do you think that all of them combined can be stronger than you? Even if there were 1,000 or 10,000 of them, they wouldn't be stronger than you. What you want is the rule of power in the bloodline. The rule was something that Qin Zhao couldn't reach. It was something that only demon kings could have. Of course, the handsome guy and Belial didn't want Qin Zhao to feel the rule. They knew that Qin Zhao couldn't even reach the level of a great lord. He couldn't even understand the rule. But they still underestimated Qin Zhao's thinking. Qin Zhao's consciousness suddenly entered a strange space. This space wasn't big, and there was only a stone mountain. In front of the stone mountain, there was a figure constantly punching the stone mountain. Qin Zhao's consciousness walked closer. He realized that the figure was himself. Was this him? Or rather, an incarnation of his consciousness? Hey, that person. Qin Zhao's incarnation didn't seem to hear Qin Zhao's voice and kept punching the mountain. Was this a metaphor? Qin Zhao's consciousness returned to his body. It was just a momentary thought. Qin Zhao didn't understand what it meant either. Do you have a more scientific explanation? Qin Zhao asked. It was too general to infuse power into the bloodline with just this explanation. It was like looking at flowers in a fog or a blind man touching an elephant. Even if he told you the shape of the flower, you still wouldn't be able to see everything clearly. It was too difficult to imagine it with his own thoughts. Oh, Qin Zhao, do you remember the sports car you gave me? The handsome guy suddenly asked. Yeah. What does that have to do with the sports car? The sports car needs fuel to run. You can think of your body as the sports car. The fuel is your power. In fact, the sports car is just a pile of scrap metal without fuel. The fuel is the source of all your power. In other words, even without the sports car, your power still exists. It's still a bit blurry. Qin Zhao felt that the handsome guy's explanation made him even more confused. Qin Zhao, why did you give him a sports car but not me? Shouldn't we be closer? Chapter 2042. Usually, it was in a chat group. Belial was the most hateful person. Belia immediately diverted the topic. A moment ago, they were talking about a normal topic. Then, Belia's words immediately turned into an unreasonable scene. However, Qin Zhao was still thinking about what the handsome guy had said earlier. What the handsome guy wanted to say was that he didn't need a sports car. He could use fuel to release the energy contained in it. However, the energy produced by the fuel through the car was a combination of mechanics, dynamics, and physics. In the end, the energy was released and turned into kinetic energy. It was the same for Qin Zhao's own strength. His body was like a highly precise instrument. Through this transfer and release, his own strength would become Qin Zhao's combat power. If he didn't use his body, how could he obtain and release strength? Think about it first. How did your vitality increase the upper limit of your lifespan? Qin Zhao was stunned. Vitality. Your bloodline determines your lifespan. Your vitality increases your lifespan by fusing with your bloodline. It's the same for your strength. Qin Zhao was instantly enlightened. The handsome guy had gone around in circles. Actually, he only needed to say one sentence, and Qin Zhao would immediately understand and understand. Handsome, Belial, there's something wrong with your expressions, Qin Zhao complained. It's not that there's something wrong with my expression, the handsome guy said. It's just that your comprehension is too low. I agree with his point of view. This is the first time in tens of thousands of years that I admit that what he said makes sense, Belial said. From what I know, there's always been a problem with humans' comprehension. After meeting you, you've pulled down the bottom line of human comprehension again. Chen Zhao ignored their rebuttal. He started absorbing his own strength like how he absorbed vitality. Actually, this process was also called returning to truth in China. This truth represented the true self, and self. Originally, all the strength Chen Zhao cultivated came from the outside. Now, he was turning from the outside to the inside. Chen Zhao was actually just lacking a layer of paper. When this layer was pierced through, Chen Zhao's realm was completed in an instant. Boom! Chen Zhao sent the demons around him flying. In the eyes of Lila Gavich, Flamenda, and Isindor, it was as if they saw countless demons being sent flying without any warning. Chen Zhao felt the unbelievable pulse in his body. He felt the surging power. He had never felt this before. At this moment, Chen Zhao finally felt that the power belonged to him. This power even surpassed life and death. Even in death, this power would be passed down through his bloodline. Among the demons of hell, only demons above the Lord level would have subordinates. This was an intermediate level, a great demon lord. They could choose to continue to be a subordinate of a great demon king, or establish a unique bloodline inheritance. In some sense, Chen Zhao could have subordinates too. This wasn't just through bloodlines. However, Chen Zhao couldn't pass down through bloodlines. At the same time, far away in Obsidian Castle, Beelzebub Zophi also sensed a familiar power. Of course, Chen Zhao's power couldn't cross such a long distance. It was only because Beelzebub Zophi had once given him his essence blood, the blood of gluttony. Zoe. Zhao, Bev, Zoe, God. Yang, Chen, that Chen, after, ago, God, was, Chen, the lifespan of humans is so short. Of course, their growth period is faster than ours. Chen Zhao looked at his changes. The most fundamental change was the increase in all aspects of his body. Chen Zhao's clones went from 8 to 16. In other words, when Chen Zhao used all returns to 1, he could increase his power by 16 times instead of 8. At the same time, he could absorb more spiritual qi when he turned into a titan. The dark lava didn't change much. The most fundamental change was the increase in his basic constitution. However, the real change was in the use of power. Chen Zhao felt that he could use his power more freely. He could easily control even 1 gram of power. It wasn't like before. Every time Chen Zhao increased his power, he would need to familiarize himself with it. He would often break or crush something by accident. Back then, his power had been in his body. Now, it was in his bloodline. Each of Chen Zhao's attacks was precise to the point of millimeters. Chen Zhao knew how to use his power more precisely. How much power did he have to use against each enemy? Chen Zhao fought from the ground to the sky, then back to the ground. Lila Gavich, Frodo, and Isindor looked at the demon corpses falling from the sky. There was no place for them to stand. The ground was covered in demon corpses. Looking around, there wasn't even a single empty space. Chen Zhao suddenly thought of a new move. He'd thought of this before, but he hadn't been strong enough to use it. It was to use the power of the world to turn into a huge palm. But it wasn't 1 palm, but thousands. Chen Zhao took a deep breath and absorbed the huge power of the world into his body. Then, he slapped his palms at the sky at an extremely fast speed. He could do hundreds of palms per second. The palms containing the power of the world shot into the sky. Then, they flipped down and bombarded the ground. In the eyes of Lila Gavich, Frodo, and Isindor, countless huge palms fell from the sky. It was like a bombing, constantly bombarding the entire battlefield. The 3 were in disbelief. It was like a god from a fairy tale. The demon army was being destroyed at an astonishing speed. Chen Zhao's move could only be used as a group attack. It didn't do much damage to a single target. Of course, this didn't mean that the demons were at the same level as Chen Zhao. It wasn't that powerful. But if it was just demons at the same level as the demon army, that was equivalent to a calamity. But for Lila Gavich, Frodo, and Isildur, it was like a miracle. Thousands or even tens of thousands of demons were killed every second. Chen Zhao's attack lasted for a minute. During this time, at least 1 million demons were killed. This also showed the difference in level. There were many mid-level demons among them. But their performance on the battlefield wasn't much better than the low-level demons. Chapter 2043. There were really a lot of demons. There were so many of them that even Chen Zhao couldn't kill them all. Lila Gavik, Fo Mundo, and Isildur were completely shocked. When the corpses piled up like a mountain and the blood gathered into a river, they were surrounded by corpses. How many demons had been killed here? In their eyes, Chen Zhao was a perpetual motion machine that didn't know fatigue. Isildur had once thought that as long as the Buddhists were here, she was undefeatable. The Buddhists had the same thought. But now, they didn't think so anymore. Chen Zhao's power shattered their confidence and all their courage. Snatch the soul container from Chen Zhao. No way. They'd rather fight a disaster-level evil spirit themselves than this inhuman being. At this moment, a circle of colorful light appeared around Lila Gage's body. These light spots were wrapping around his body. Lila Gavich's heart jumped. Was it done? He'd become an elf messenger. At the same time, the demons started retreating. Lila Gavich, Fo, and Isildur all felt a pulling force from nothingness. Chen Zhao looked at Lila Gavich. Gavich, your test seems to be over. Chen. I feel a pulling force. I think I'm going back to the human world. Okay, congratulations. But what about you? I'll go back tomorrow, Chen Zhao said. I need to stay in hell for 24 hours. Chen, my friend, thank you. Lila Gavich went up to hug Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao was considering if he should accept the hug. But before Chen Zhao could make a decision, Lila Gavich, Fo, and Isildur all turned into a beam of light and disappeared before Chen Zhao. After the three left, the handsome young man appeared before Chen Zhao. Looks like you've gained a lot. The young man looked Chen Zhao up and down. Where did these demons come from? Why are there so many of them? This is the Ice King's territory, so the demon army naturally belongs to him. He just watched me slaughter his army. He can feel that I'm here, but he doesn't know my intentions, so he doesn't dare to approach, the young man said. Then, did I become enemies with him? He won't target you. At the very least, he won't take the initiative to target you. After all, you're already a great lord. Chen Zhao looked at his hands. This feeling is really special. Chen Zhao suddenly looked up at the sky. Belia is calling me. I'll go say hi to her. Go. The handsome boy waved his hand lightly. Chen Zhao instantly appeared in a spacious hall. This was Belial's palace. Chen Zhao had already been here once. Belial was lying lazily in front of the palace as usual. There were many graceful figures dressed in light muslin surrounding Belia to serve her. These women were all souls of women, but Belial had given them new bodies. Belial gently waved his hand, and the souls of these women floated away. Belia crooked his finger. The moment Lila Gavich returned to the world, all the elves felt Lila Gavich's presence. Spirit Envoy. Undine revealed a surprised expression. He actually succeeded. Undine's expression immediately became extremely ugly. She knew very well how terrifying Lila Gavich's test was. Myslan had sacrificed everything she had to the demon king of hell, the king of curses. Lila Gavich was cursed to fall into hell to accept the test. This curse was called the eternal descent to hell. It was a curse that would only take effect and the target accepted the spirit envoy's test. There was no possibility that Lila Gavich could complete the test. But he had indeed succeeded. Undine couldn't understand it no matter how hard she thought about it. Had Myslan Gavich's curse failed? That was impossible. Myslan Gavich had already completed the sacrifice. This meant that the demon king of hell had accepted the sacrifice. The contract was established. As the successor of the White Elves, Undine knew a lot of the White Elves' secrets. For example, eternal hell. As the symbol of holiness and nature, most people felt that it was sacred and inviolable, rejecting all darkness and evil. Even the elves thought so. But eternal hell was a secret of the White Elves. In order to maintain the glorious image of the White Elves, of course they couldn't let people know that they had such an evil and vicious curse. In the past 3,000 years, the White Elves had used this spell more than once. So there was a more detailed introduction in the White Elves. So Undine knew what Lila Gavich had to face. It was a test that he could never pass. But the result was unacceptable to Undine. She couldn't calm down for a long time. She had to find out what was going on. Undine took out her phone. She called Lila Gavich. She had called this number countless times before. But in the past half a month, she couldn't get through to this number. But now it was through. This meant that Lila Gavich had really succeeded. "Hi, Undine." Lila Gavich's voice was very bright. Obviously, he was in a very good mood. "Congratulations, Great Spirit Envoy." "Undine, other than congratulating me, do you want to ask me why I was able to come back from hell alive?" Undine's heart skipped a beat. She would rather say that the curse had failed. Not that Lila Gavich had really passed the test of hell. "I don't understand what you're talking about." "What hell?" "I saw Myslan Pool. He really became too ugly. I almost didn't recognize him at first glance." Undine's heart was even heavier. It seemed like Lila Gavich had really come back from hell. Although she didn't know how Lila Gavich had done it. It was almost unimaginably difficult. "How did you do it?" Undine asked. She didn't think there was any need to hide anymore. Not avoiding it anymore. Lila Gavich's laughter came from the phone. "Don't beat around the bush. Tell me the truth. How did you do it?" "Why should I tell you? What do you want?" "Just say it," Undine said. "Let our child meet me. How about that? Go to hell." "Looks like our negotiation has broken down. I'm not going to tell you the truth." In any case, Portia felt that if $1 billion were placed in front of her, she would definitely do anything for it. After all, to her, and even to 9,999% of the people in this world, this was an unimaginable number. Even those billionaires would find it hard to remain calm in the face of $1 billion USD. "Boss, you haven't given me a bonus in a long time," Portia said, feeling wronged. "Get lost. What contribution did you make? Can I give you a bonus?" "Even if I didn't make any contributions, I did some hard work." Chen Zhao rolled his eyes. "I asked you to take care of the kids for 2 days and you complained to me every day. You're not embarrassed to ask me to give you a bonus?" Lila Gavich thought for a moment and decided to keep the check. Chen Zhao's help this time made him not only respect Chen Zhao, but also respect him. Chen Zhao's actions made him feel that Chen Zhao was a friend that he could entrust everything to. After all, there weren't many people in this world who were willing to go to hell for a promise. And Chen Zhao happened to be one of them. If even this kind of friend wasn't trustworthy, Lila Gavich didn't know what kind of friend he could trust. Of course, Chen Zhao's almost legendary strength was also an important reason why Lila Gavich was so determined to maintain a close relationship with him. Lila Gavich didn't doubt that Chen Zhao was probably one of the most powerful beings in the world. Lila Gavich wasn't sure if there was someone stronger than Chen Zhao or just as powerful as him in this world. After all, his realm wasn't that high, even though he had become a spirit envoy. Although he'd become an elf envoy, becoming an elf envoy didn't increase his strength much. In fact, Lila Gavich felt that even if he became the Elf King one day, he still wouldn't be Chen Zhao's match. The battle in hell also gave Lila Gavich a new understanding of Chen Zhao's strength. It was even more impactful than the battle between Chen Zhao and Amanda Didier. The psychological and physical impact was hard to describe with words. "Oh, Chen, what's going on with Buddhist duo?" "What? What did she say to you?" "She didn't say anything. Then she left LA with her sister Isendor for no reason, so I guess something must have happened between you and them," Lila Gavich said. Lila Gage said, "But it looks like they're scared." Chen Zhao took out the soul container. "They're probably here for this." "What's inside?" "It feels really evil. I caught it from Africa." "It's a cursed spirit, a disaster-level evil spirit," Chen Zhao said. "It was originally used to trade with Buddhist duo," Chen Zhao told them about their feud. Combining the cause and effect, Lila Gavich finally understood. It was because they'd suddenly appeared in the cave that night. They probably didn't have any good intentions. "It's good that they're gone. Chen, I'll continue to help you find a suitable witch." "Yeah, it's best if you can find one. If not, then forget it." Chen Zhao wasn't really interested in the treasure island. Plus, he'd promised Fei Lai and his kids that he'd bring them to the island. But the island was dangerous. Chen Zhao couldn't go back on his word. If he could find the island, he'd definitely bring them. Of course, he wouldn't be too disappointed if he couldn't find it. Lila Gavich stayed for more than an hour and then left. Just then, Thera came to Chen Zhao's side. "Boss, can I take a few days off?" "Sure," Chen Zhao said. "What do you need?" "A friend needs my help." Chapter 2045. What is it? "It's just a small problem. I'll be back soon," Zevra said calmly. "Okay, call me if you need anything." Zevra nodded. Chen Zhao could tell from her expression that even if there was trouble, she probably wouldn't ask Chen Zhao for help. Zevra had always been the kind of person who could clearly distinguish between business and private matters. To her, the entanglements of the past were private matters. Chen Zhao's work was official. She tried not to let her personal matters affect her work. It was impossible for her to ask Chen Zhao for help. "Zevra, are you going on a mission or assassinating someone?" "Or assassinate someone?" Portia asked excitedly. She'd always firmly believed that Zevra was a killer or something. She'd even imagined Zevra's background. In Portia's setting, Zevra was a killer who'd left the organization. She would only be hiding her identity as Chen Zhao's assistant. Sooner or later, the organization's killers would find her. "When are you leaving?" Chen Zhao asked. "The day after tomorrow," Zevra answered. That night, Chen Zhao received West's call. They'd returned to LA and were at the customs at the airport. When Chen Zhao arrived, Nagasaka Reiko followed him. "Hello, President." Nagasaka Reiko gave Chen Zhao a 90-degree bow. Chen Zhao didn't object to Nagasaka Reiko being a reserve member of the association. However, she had to bow every time they met or even talked to her. This made Chen Zhao very uncomfortable. In comparison, Dongye Tianxi didn't have this problem. Dongye Tianxi had already immigrated and his family had lived in L for a long time. Therefore, Dongye Tianxi had basically lost most of his habits in Japan. It was also Dongye Tianxi who told Nagasaka Reiko to pick him up at the airport. Since Nagasaka Reiko had become a reserve member of the association, of course, he had to have a good relationship with the official members. Back then, Dongye Tianxi had been taken care of by Nagasaka Reiko's grandmother, Yoko Hikari. Now, of course, he had to take care of Nagasaka Reiko too. This was normal in both the East and the West. No one would blame Dongye Tianxi. Moreover, there was nothing wrong with Nagasaka Reiko coming to pick him up. "You should change your habits in the future," Chen Zhao said gently. "When in Rome, do as the Romans do." Japanese etiquette isn't bad, but it's not suitable for every occasion. "Yes, President." Nagasaka Reiko unconsciously made a deep bow. Chen Zhao patted his head. There was still time. He'd think about it later. This habit was not something that could be changed in a short period of time. At this moment, West led the way out of the arrival gate. Chen Zhao went up and patted West. "How was it? How was your trip in Africa?" West looked at Chen Zhao and rolled his eyes. "President, why do you ask when you already know the answer? Are you still blaming me? Do I dare?" "Okay," Chen Zhao said. "I won't interfere with your next mission." Chapter 2046. The Hunters Guild had clearly realized that Wenk Zieg had a powerful ally or channel. Now, they were even trying to find out which organization Wenk Zieg's channel was. After all, an organization that could complete one or more red missions was already very powerful. The Hunters Guild obviously hoped to have such a channel and obtain such an ally. "President, come here." Engelite waved his hand. "Wenk, I'll go over." "West is over there." After greeting Wenk Zieg, Chen Zhao walked toward Engelite. "President, come and teach me how to use that ballistic speed measuring device." What Engelite was most concerned about was this ballistic speed measuring device. Chen Zhao wanted to use it too. After all, his speed had increased quite a bit recently. Chen Zhao and Engelite entered the warehouse. The shape of the ballistic speed testing instrument was quite high-tech. The metal rings were lined up side by side, spreading out over a radius of more than 30 meters. The rings were sensors. After collecting data, they would transmit it to the main computer. The computer would analyze and calculate the data before displaying it on the screen. Engelite, stand at the starting point. Engelite stood at the starting point and stretched his limbs. "We can start now." Engelite suddenly shot out like an arrow. Chen Zhao looked at the calculated data on the screen. A while later, Engelite returned to Chen Zhao's side. "President, what was my speed just now?" "Mach 2. 11, Chen Zhao said. "That shouldn't be your full speed, right?" Chen Zhao didn't know Engelite's exact data. However, Chen Zhao remembered that Engelite could be faster. "This is my normal speed. It can last for a long time. There are 2 other explosive speeds. Let me see the other 2 explosive speeds." Engelite stood at the starting point again. After Chen Zhao reset the data to 0, he started the test again. This time, Engelit was even faster. His clothes had already been burned to ashes. Only the dragon scale suit was left. When Engelit returned to Chen Zhao's side, he was already panting. What's your speed this time? Mach 6. 15. The improvement is very obvious. Chen Zhao was also amazed by this speed. Compared to Angelite's initial data, the difference was like heaven and earth. When Chen Zhao first joined the supernatural organization, their first enemy was family. At that time, Engelit couldn't even break through the speed of sound, and it would be very difficult for him to run back and forth. But now, Engelit could burst out with such a terrifying speed. Mach 6. 15. This explosive state can last for a short period of time, Engelit said. This is already very impressive. There's also an explosive state, which should be much faster than this, but the flaw is even more obvious. Let's run a bit and see. After all, this was his headquarters, so Engelit didn't need to worry too much. Engelit immediately released his third burst state. Just by standing at the starting point, a red aura had already erupted from his body. It looked like he was shrouded in a cloud of fire. Chen Zhao could clearly feel Angelite's aura getting stronger. The moment Engelit burst out, he turned into a red bolt of lightning. Even Chen Zhao could barely see Angelite's figure with his naked eyes. Quick! It was too fast. When Engelit finished running, the cloud of fire on his body hadn't disappeared yet. Engelit, on the other hand, sprinted thousands of meters away before making a detour back. Engelit panted even more heavily. It seemed that the cloud of fire was really a huge burden on him. President, what's the data just now? 13.28 Mach. This data is very shocking, Chen Zhao said in amazement. Most enemies will be defeated by your speed. Chen Zhao tried to be cautious. In fact, apart from West who could counter Engelit, almost no one else in the organization could resist his speed. I comprehended this state when I was in Africa, but there are two disadvantages. The duration is very short, only 3 minutes. Once the 3 minutes are over, I will become powerless, and I will need to rest for at least 3 days. It seems that this state is really a huge burden on you, Chen Zhao said cautiously. I'll check your body later. Angelite's cloud of fire was clearly an overload, which was extremely stressful on the body. It could even leave side effects, such as a heart attack. What's the second flaw? I can't turn. I can only move in a straight line, Engelit said. Every time I charge, I'll run thousands of meters before stopping. Then I'll adjust my direction and sprint again. You can't even turn in a circle. Engelit shook his head. I can't. Try not to use this state in the future. I'll make some medicine for you. If something happens because of this state, take it immediately. Guild leader, test out your speed. Chen Zhao nodded. This time, Engelit operated. Chen Zhao stood at the starting point. Similarly, the first round was a regular state test. Then it was the speed test after 10,000 spells returned to 1. Next was the speed after assimilation. Then it was the speed after activating the Eye of Power. His strength doubled. Power also affected speed. His normal speed was 12.85 Mach. This speed was about the same as Engelite's explosive speed in the cloud of fire. Engelit was speechless at Chen Zhao's speed. He was a spiritualist who specialized in speed. However, his upper limit was only Chen Zhao's lower limit. Then it was the speed after 10,000 spells returned to 1, Mach 26.99. When Chen Zhao ran past the ballistic speed measuring device, he brought with him a wave of heat. Even Engelit, who was standing several meters away, felt immense pressure. When the data came out, Engelit was still shocked. It was almost Mach 27. It was unbelievable. With the addition of the dark assimilation, the increase wasn't so exaggerated. Mach 30. 05 was just over 30. The Eye of Power doubled his strength, but the increase was even smaller. It was 31. 66, the increase was very small. The last round was Giant Spirit Transformation. Because of his huge body, he could only fly. Rumble, the members of the association who were still in the party suddenly saw a violent explosion in the warehouse next to the headquarters. Then, Engelit ran out. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.